Chapter 2636, 2636 Opportunity to Live Forever. 2636 Opportunity to Live Forever. Su Zimo gradually digested the information about the creation Green Lotus. After a moment of silence, Su Zimo asked, "Given my current cultivation, if I can condense a Tao fruit and advance to the perfected One realm, the Green Lotus true body should be able to grow to the peak of grade 12. However, if grade 12 is the peak, how will the Green Lotus true body grow after the Grotto-heaven and Emperor realms?" Immortal Queen Ling Long smiled. "You don't have to worry about that. I'm afraid no one in the upper world can tell you the origin, potential, and secrets of the creation Green Lotus. However, it doesn't matter even if the creation Green Lotus only has 12 grades. A grade 12 creation Green Lotus is in a mature state. How you grow in the future will depend on the fate of your cultivation. For example, a child can only be considered as an adult after growing for many years. However, that does not mean that the child's strength will stop there. The mature state of grade 12 for the creation Green Lotus is only the starting point of its cultivation. You will be the one who will have to pave its future from there on." Su Zimo was enlightened. If the creation Green Lotus truly came from the major Kiliacosm, there was probably no one who could be certain about anything. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat as he suddenly asked, "How much do you know about the major Kiliacosm, seniors? Have any living beings of the upper world ascended there over the years?" Lin Zhan and Immortal Queen Ling Long exchanged glances and shook their heads. Immortal Queen Ling Long pondered for a moment. The major Kiliacosm should exist. However, almost all traces of the major Kiliacosm in the books of history have been erased, so there's no way to verify it. We don't know if anyone can ascend to the major Kiliacosm either. The human monarch and immortal Queen Ling Long had ascended to the upper world for hundreds of thousands of years and had both cultivated to the Grotto-heaven realm. However, even with their experience, they did not know anything about the major Kiliacosm. Lin Zhan said, "Since the lifespan of an emperor is 10 million years, I believe that the emperor realm is not the endpoint of cultivation. Perhaps the chance to live forever lies within the major Kiliacosm." Su Zimo nodded in deep thought. Su Zimo had benefited immensely from his conversation with the human monarch and immortal Queen Ling Long. Not only did he obtain a lot of information about the creation Green Lotus, he even confirmed some of his previous guesses. More importantly, with the reminder of immortal Queen Ling Long, he would be even more careful and prepare in advance to deal with the worst-case scenario. According to immortal Queen Ling Long, she and the sect master of the academy received the inheritance of Great Empress Nine Heaven's mystic maiden. Since immortal Queen Ling Long knew about the Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra, it meant that the sect master of the academy should know as well. In other words, the sect master of the academy might have a greater motive to attack him than King Yunyu. That was because King Yunyu merely viewed him as a variant spirit plant and a rare medicinal herb. However, the sect master of the academy might view him as the most precious treasure of the upper world. That was also the reason why King Yunyu hunted him down the moment he ascended, prepared to capture him and refine him into an immortal pill. However, the sect master of the academy painstakingly set up a plan and even appeared personally to protect him so that he could grow smoothly. That was because the higher the grade of the creation Green Lotus, the greater the help it would provide to the sect master of the academy. The Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra was also derived from the grade 11 creation Green Lotus. Of course, the prerequisite was that the person who set this plan was indeed the sect master of the academy. Although the sect master of the academy was the most suspicious target, Su Zimo was still unsure right now. That was because there were still a few things that could not be explained. First, the person who tried to kill him with King Yunyu back then was not the sect master of the academy. It was somebody that immortal Queen Ling Long had not seen before. Since the creation Green Lotus was so important, the fewer people who knew about it, the better. If it was truly a trap set up by the sect master of the academy, there was no need for him to send anyone else. Back then, Su Zimo thought that he was just lucky that the Hell Suppression Tripod happened to devour a Grotto-heaven spirit treasure right before he was devoured by the black hole. From the looks of it, This person should have fed the hell suppression tripod the Grotto-heaven spirit treasure intentionally. Second, there were too many coincidences that happened at the immortal sect selection. However, there were no traces of the sect master of the academy involved. Although the appearance of painting immortal Imoching was a little abrupt, it was because she had obtained news of Elder 8 of the academy. Third, the sect master of the academy did not hide the fact that he knew about the creation Green Lotus. That action was akin to alerting the enemy to his presence. Fourth, if the sect master of the academy valued the creation Green Lotus so much, why had he never restricted Su Zimo's movements? For example, he would definitely meet immortal Queen Linglong at the 9 Firmament meet. Once they met, it was inevitable for him to suspect the sect master of the academy. Since the sect master of the academy knew about his relationship with immortal Queen Linglong and the others, the best way was to find a random reason not to let him take part in the 9 Firmament meet and avoid meeting immortal Queen Linglong and the others. The sect master of the academy had never restricted his freedom. Wasn't he afraid that Su Zimo would condense a Dao fruit elsewhere and advance to the perfected One realm, escaping from Heaven and Earth Academy forever? There were many things that could not be explained. If this was not done by the sect master of the academy, he might encounter even greater danger after leaving Heaven and Earth Academy. Even if it was truly the sect master of the academy, there was no way he could leave just like that either. There were a few other people in Heaven and Earth Academy who had a deep relationship with him. Yang Ruoxu, Princess Scarlet Rainbow, Lu Ping, and Senior Sister Imoching. Furthermore, Tao Yao was still in Heaven and Earth Academy. This matter was not easy to deal with. Immortal Queen Linglong said, "Why don't you cultivate here? I can set up an immortal formation for you to block aura detection. When you break through, you won't attract much attention." Su Zimo nodded. "I'll stay here for a few days. If I can comprehend the opportunity to break through, I'll do it here." If human monarch Lin Zhan's injuries were to recover, he could naturally protect Su Zimo. But now, the human monarch's injuries had yet to recover. Even with the Yin Yang Talisman Sutra, it was difficult for him to gain anything within a short period of time. If Su Zimo stayed too long at the human monarch's side, he would definitely alert the mastermind. At that time, there was a high chance that he would bring trouble to the Battle Kingdom. The Battle Kingdom was currently troubled internally and externally and could not withstand such an impact. Su Zimo sighed internally. If the martial Dao Prime Body was still in the Fiend Domain, he could head over to Tianhuang Sect in the Fiend Domain to attempt Tribulation Transcendence. Even if an Immortal King expert came, the martial Dao Prime Body could suppress him. Even if he could not win, the martial Dao Prime Body could protect the Green Lotus True Body and head to the infinite hell. But now, he had already lost contact with the martial Dao Prime Body after the latter fell into the ancient abyss of Greater Avicii with an unknown fate. The surroundings were dark and the martial Dao Prime Body felt his body falling uncontrollably. Be it his gaze or spirit consciousness, he could not detect anything. It felt as though he was traveling through some spatial tunnel. However, the dizziness and tearing sensation was even stronger and time dragged on. Thankfully, he did not suffer any injuries during the process. After a long time, the body of the martial Dao Prime Body suddenly lightened, and he finally regained control. Chapter 2637, 2637 Mountain Ridges of Corpses and Bones. 2637 Mountain Ridges of Corpses and Bones. The martial Dao Prime Body controlled his body and stood in midair, looking around. At the same time, he released his spirit consciousness to check out the surroundings. The surroundings were dark and sinister. There were no sun, moon, or stars above his head, and the rare few light sources came from various strange vegetation. Some of the tall trees were pitch black with lush leaves. However, most of the leaves were pitch black. Only a few leaves emitted a faint glow from time to time. In the dark environment, they flickered and looked rather terrifying. In the darkness far away, a large shadow appeared motionlessly, as though many gigantic ancient beasts were hidden in the depths of the darkness. It seemed particularly sinister in the quiet and dark environment. On the ground, not far away, there were fist-sized ghastly green flames that floated like ghost flames. The martial Tao prime body focused his gaze and narrowed his eyes instinctively. Beneath the balls of ghost flames were scattered white bones with many slashes and bite marks. It was clear how tragic a combat battle had broken out here back then. The martial Tao prime body sensed it briefly. Although there was also some heaven and earth essence chi in the surroundings, it was clearly much thinner than the heavenly world. Of course, it was far superior to the Dragon Abyss star. However, there was a dark and sinister power mixed in the heaven and earth essence chi that was different from the heavenly world. The martial Tao prime body felt as though he had arrived in an unfamiliar world. Not only was this world out of place with the environment of the heavenly world, the atmosphere was even completely different from the entire upper world. Looking around, even the vegetation here was unfamiliar and strange. The martial Tao prime body had never seen it in the upper world before. Where am I? The martial Tao prime body frowned slightly. He sensed carefully and could tell that he had already lost connection with the Green Lotus true body. Under normal circumstances, he controlled the Hell Suppression tripod. Even in Greater Avicii, he could maintain a connection with the Green Lotus true body. After falling here, his connection with the outside world was severed completely. The martial Tao prime body circulated the power of the Grotto-heaven and punched casually. The surrounding void trembled and a crack appeared, revealing a spatial tunnel within. The martial Tao prime body entered in a flash. Before long, another void split open and the martial Tao prime body walked out of the spatial tunnel, frowning. Something was amiss. Although he could tear through the void and teleport at any moment, he could not return to Greater Avicii, let alone the heavenly world. It was as though there was an unshakable barrier between him and Greater Avicii. How could this be? The martial Tao prime body pondered as he surveyed his surroundings. He had just undergone spatial teleportation and had already arrived near the tall shadow he first saw. Now that he was closer, he could see clearly that the majestic shadows hidden in the darkness were endless mountain peaks. Initially, the martial Tao prime body did not think too much about it. However, his gaze inadvertently swept past the nearest mountain peak and his pupils constricted. Corpses were strewn all over the mountain peak, and there were all sorts of living beings. Apart from humans, there were also other races. How was this an ordinary mountain? It was a mountain of blood and corpses. The martial Tao prime body released his spirit consciousness and it extended outwards continuously. Corpses were strewn everywhere in the endless mountain ridges and white bones were piled beneath. In fact, some living beings had just died not long ago and their flesh had yet to rot. The terrifying thing was that all the towering mountains and precipitous peaks within 5,000 kilometers of the martial Tao prime body's spirit consciousness were in such a tragic state. This entire mountain ridge was filled with corpses and bones. Right then, the martial Tao prime body could sense more than 100 cultivators speeding towards him. The group of cultivators were not surprised by the mountains of corpses and bones around them. It was as though they were already used to it and looked like they were locals. There's some activity over there. Let's go take a look. We've just taken down Weeping Soul Ridge. Let's not let the other factions take advantage of it. Sigh. The Nether chi is depleted and resources are scarce. It's getting harder and harder to cultivate. I wonder if I'll ever have the chance to become a Hell General in my lifetime. I'll have my own territory and lead millions of Hell pawns with countless beauties by my side. Hell General? Don't count on it. We'll be Hell pawns for the rest of our lives. Fighting and killing is commonplace in the North Ridge. It's already not bad if we can survive for a few more years. Do you think you can live long even if you cultivate to become a Hell General? Even the previous territorial lord of Weeping Soul Ridge was killed by our territorial lord. When the martial Tao prime body heard that, he frowned slightly. Nether chi? Hell pawns? Hell General? Weeping Soul Ridge, North Ridge. Weeping Soul Ridge and North Ridge should be names. However, what were the Nether chi, Hell pawns, and Hell Generals that the cultivators were referring to? Ever since he ascended to the upper world, the The martial Tao prime body had been cultivating in seclusion most of the time. However, he had browsed through cultivation techniques and secret skills of the upper world. In Avicii alone, countless legacies of the Trichiliacosm were passed down. There had never been any mention of Nether Chi, Hell Pawns, or the likes in those inheritances. In the senses of the martial Tao prime body, the cultivation realms of the 100-odd cultivators varied. The weaker ones were black immortals while the stronger ones were heaven immortals. The leader should be a grade 9 heaven immortal. Furthermore, the martial Tao prime body noticed that although the cultivators were in human form, there were slight differences. The pupils of those cultivators were brown. Perhaps due to the lack of light source, their skin looked pale, lacking the color of blood. The cultivators exuded a sinister and cold aura that was extremely similar to their surroundings. The martial Tao prime body had never seen such an aura in the upper world. He knew nothing about this place and was about to find someone to ask. At that thought, the martial Tao prime body welcomed the group of them. Commander Chui, how many nether stones will the territorial lords split to us now that we've taken down Weeping Soul Ridge? A cultivator in the crowd asked with a grin. Don't worry, you'll get your share, Commander Chui said indifferently. Boss, look, someone's over there. Right then, a few cultivators pointed to a purple-robed man who was flying over from afar and reminded. What's his cultivation realm? Why can't I detect him? He's even wearing a mask. How secretive. Boss, why do I feel that this person exudes an aura of life and doesn't seem like he's from our North Ridge? He looks like a fat sheep who might have quite a number of nether stones on him, a few cultivators discussed softly. Commander Chui looked at the purple-robed man not far away and narrowed his eyes slightly, sending a voice transmission, wait for my instructions later. If he's truly a living person, we'll kill him first. If there are truly nether stones, we'll split them first. Understood. The cultivators behind him replied hurriedly and licked their lips with excited eyes. Chapter 2638. 2638 Hell? 2638 Hell? Hey, where are you from? Commander Chui glared at the purple-robed cultivator not far away and asked loudly. Where am I? The purple-robed cultivator wore a cold silver mask and asked in a deep voice instead of replying. This is Weeping Soul Ridge, Commander Chui replied. Where is Weeping Soul Ridge? The purple-robed cultivator continued asking. Commander Chui said, Weeping Soul Ridge is one of the mountain ridges in the North Ridge. There are 100,000 mountain ridges in the North Ridge. Among the 100,000 mountain ridges, Weeping Soul Ridge is one of the most inconspicuous ones. For some unknown reason, the purple-robed cultivator seemed to exude an invisible might. Each time the purple-robed cultivator asked a question, Commander Chui would reply instinctively as though he could not control himself. A commotion broke out in the crowd behind him. Commander Chui's heart skipped a beat, but he snapped out of it quickly. His expression darkened as he glared at the purple-robed cultivator not far away and hollered, I was the one asking you a question. Answer me honestly and don't change the topic. Let me ask you again, where are you from? The purple-robed cultivator was silent for a moment before replying, Heavenly World. Heavenly World? Commander Chui and the 100-odd cultivators behind him were clearly stunned. But soon, Commander Chui and the others exchanged glances and burst into laughter. Ha 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 ha, this person actually said that he's from the heavenly world. How stupid. He doesn't even know how to lie. Commander Chui, don't waste your breath on him. I think this person is just messing with us. Let's kill him first and see what treasures are in his storage bag. A cultivator could not help but urge. I'll advise you guys. Don't come sending yourselves to death. Suddenly, the purple-robed cultivator spoke with an indifferent tone. The martial Tao prime body had just arrived and did not know anything about this place. He did not want to start a massacre after just encountering the cultivators here, and that was why he reminded them. However, if they wanted to die, he would not show mercy either. Bloody hell, he's even threatening us. A grade 8 Earth immortal cultivator could not hold it in any longer and laughed sinisterly. Let me test how strong you are first. The moment that cultivator moved, the remaining 100-odd cultivators attacked as well. Instantly, many Dharmic treasures and weapons tore through the air. Half of the cultivators wielded sharp blades and charged in the direction of the martial Tao prime body, wanting to fight in melee combat. Behind the silver mask of the martial Tao prime body, his gaze suddenly turned even deeper. He raised his hand gently. The 100-odd cultivators on the other end, Commander Chui included, froze on the spot motionlessly. Even the many Dharmic treasures and weapons that were charging towards the martial Tao prime body hovered in midair, as though they were frozen on the spot by an invisible force. Many cultivators widened their eyes in shock. What was that? Immobilizing spell? Commander Chui was still shocked. What immobilizing spell could restrict him to the spot? Could it be a peerless divine power? Could this person be a Hell General? Their territorial lord was a Hell General. However, even the territorial lord could not render them motionless just by raising his hand. Just as the many cultivators were letting their imaginations run wild, the martial Tao prime body waved his palm gently. It was as though he was chasing away a few noisy mosquitoes. In midair, the Dharmic treasures and weapons seemed to have received some sort of power and flew back at an even faster speed, entering the bodies of the many cultivators. Poof, poof, poof. The bodies of the many cultivators exploded into blood mists. The landing points of the Dharmic treasures and weapons were extremely precise and pierced the glabella of the cultivators. Their essence spirits were destroyed and they died on the spot. In the blink of an eye, Commander Chui was the only one left among the 100-odd cultivators. Commander Chui's face was pale and his body stiffened, shivering in fear. He could not understand how he managed to survive. The martial Tao prime body did not say anything more to him. When he approached, he captured Commander Chui's essence spirit and used the soul-searching art. Since you guys refuse to tell me, I'll see for myself. A moment later, the soul-searching art ended and Commander Chui's essence spirit turned dispirited and dim. His aura was weak, and he was at the end of his road. Thereafter, the martial Tao prime body threw away his essence spirit in deep thought. As he had initially guessed, he had already arrived at a foreign world that was completely different from the upper world. The cultivation resources here were different from the upper world. Living beings of the upper world cultivated and absorbed heaven and earth essence chi. Apart from their surroundings, they could also use various immortal medicine, essence spirit stones, and other cultivation resources to absorb heaven and earth essence chi. Although there was heaven and earth essence chi in this foreign world, there was another power mixed in it. That power was the dark and cold aura that the martial Tao prime body sensed. This aura was mixed with heaven and earth essence chi, and the living beings of this foreign world called it Nether chi. The cultivation resources required by this group of cultivators were the Nether stones. As for the Hell Pawns and Hell Generals mentioned by these cultivators, those were the cultivation realms of this foreign world. In this foreign world, be it black, earth, or heaven essence realm cultivators, they were all on the low end of the hierarchy and were collectively called Hell Pawns. One could only become a Hell General after condensing a Nether crystal. The so-called Nether crystal corresponded to the Tao fruit of the upper world. In other words, the cultivation realm of a Hell General was equivalent to the perfected One realm and corresponded to the perfected immortals, perfected fiends, and perfected arhats of the upper world. Above the Hell Generals were the legendary Hell Kings who were equivalent to Grotto-heaven realm experts of the upper world. Commander Chui's cultivation realm was limited. Although he was only at the level 9 Heaven Essence realm, he was only a Hell Pawn and was at the bottom of this foreign world. He did not have much information about this foreign world. Commander Chui only knew that he belonged to Weeping Soul Ridge. Weeping Soul Ridge was only one of 100,000 mountain ridges. Even so, in Commander Chui's memories, the territory of Weeping Soul Ridge was more than 500,000 kilometers, and there were hundreds of millions of living beings in the territory. The martial Tao prime body was shocked when he saw that information. This was one of the most unassuming mountain ridges among the 100,000 mountain ridges, but it spanned more than 500,000 kilometers, and there were hundreds of millions of living beings. In that case, what were the other mountain ridges that were even wider like? According to Commander Chui's memories, the 100,000 mountain ridges were known as the North Ridge. The master of the North Ridge was known as King North Ridge and ruled over the entire North Ridge. The Martial Tao Prime Body was disappointed that he could not find any specific information about this foreign world, even after searching through Commander Chui's memories. Commander Chui's memories were limited to the North Ridge. If he wanted to know more, he might have to look for a Hell General cultivator. Hell Pawns, Hell Generals. A thought flashed through the mouth of the Martial Tao Prime Body as he murmured softly. Could I have arrived in the true hell? That thought flashed through the mind of the Martial Tao Prime Body, and his heart skipped a beat. When he recalled the dark and sinister environment around him and the mountain ridge that was filled with corpses and bones, the Martial Tao Prime Body felt that the probability of his guess was extremely high. Chapter 2639, 2639 Utter Destruction. 2639 Utter Destruction. There were extremely few records of hell in the upper world, and there were only many legends about the netherworld and hell. However, no one had seen what hell was like. Heavenly Wolf had once said that living beings could not enter the netherworld. Only the souls that remained after living beings died could enter the netherworld. Was the netherworld and hell the same place? Although he obtained quite a bit of information from using the soul-searching art on Commander Chui, this foreign world was still filled with too many unknowns for the Martial Tao Prime Body. However, from Commander Chui's memories, the Martial Tao Prime Body found the center of Weeping Soul Ridge. The territorial lord of Weeping Soul Ridge had the cultivation of a Hell General and was equivalent to a perfected immortal of the heavenly world. As such, his understanding of this foreign world was definitely even more detailed. The Martial Tao Prime Body tore through the void and teleported directly. Although Weeping Soul Ridge was only one of 100,000 mountain ridges, it occupied an extremely vast area, and hundreds of millions of living beings in its territory were under the rule of a territorial lord. Before long, the Martial Tao Prime Body descended in the depths of Weeping Soul Ridge and stood in midair in the core region. Roar! The moment the Martial Tao Prime Body appeared, the roar of a ferocious beast sounded from the nearby forest. Many birds soared into the air and cried out warningly. Who's there? A holler sounded from the forest. The pitch-black ancient trees swayed, and countless living beings gathered in all directions of the forest. Among those living beings, there were not only human cultivators, but also various races. Some of the living beings had human faces, but gigantic bone wings behind them. Some of the living beings were dozens of feet tall with bared upper bodies and domineering auras, resembling the barbarian race of Tianhuang mainland. There were also living beings with human faces and beast bodies. They had gigantic wings on their backs and seemed to be a rare, ferocious beast. Countless living beings were filled with killing intent and trampled on countless corpses. Like a black tide, they surged through the forest rapidly. Where's your territorial lord? Against the many living beings that surged over from all directions, the Martial Tao Prime Body asked with a calm expression. You think you're qualified to meet our territorial lord? The person who spoke was a variant living being. Although he had a human being, he had no facial features. The mouth he spoke from grew on his chest, and his fangs were sharp. His eyes grew in the palms of his hands, and he faced the direction of the Martial Tao Prime Body with a dark gaze. This variant living being's cultivation was not weak and should be a Hell General. However, according to the cultivation realms of this foreign world, this variant living being could only be considered as an elementary stage Hell General and was equivalent to a Convergence perfected immortal. You want to take over Weeping Soul Ridge alone? Another Hell General questioned loudly. The Martial Tao Prime Body frowned slightly when he saw the formation of the living beings. He had just arrived and did not want to be too ostentatious. However, from the looks of it, it was as though the other party wanted to swarm forward and tear him into pieces the moment their conversation went south. The Martial Tao Prime Body said slowly, I'm from the heavenly world and don't want to fight for Weeping Soul Ridge. I want to look for your territorial lord to obtain some information about this place. Heavenly world? Many living beings of Weeping Soul Ridge were clearly stunned for a moment before sneering. Since you said that you're from the heavenly world, don't blame us for devouring you. The mouth of the variant living being drooled and sharp claws gradually extended from his fingers. Kill? Suddenly, a roar burst forth from the crowd. The next moment, many living beings of Weeping Soul Ridge swarmed forward. The expression of the martial Tao Prime body turned cold. He could not understand why the living beings of Weeping Soul Ridge were so hostile towards those of the heavenly world. However, since those living beings had a death wish, there was no need for him to hold back. The martial Tao Prime body was already being patient and gave the other party a chance by attempting to explain things. Die. Suddenly, the martial Tao Prime body spoke and hollered, releasing a sound domain secret skill. In fact, he did not even activate the secret skill of myriad beings sound. This was the simplest roar, and it was purely a sound domain attack released by his body, bloodline, and powerful lungs. Even so, the living beings of Weeping Soul Ridge could not withstand it. Poof, poof, poof. Outside the forest, the bodies of many living beings exploded one after another. Broken limbs flew everywhere, and a blood mist spread with a torrential blood stench. The impact of the sound domain even caused the entire mountain ridge to tremble violently. Countless mountains shattered and collapsed as many gravel rolled down. Instantly, more than half of the surrounding living beings were shocked to death by the martial Tao Prime body. Not only that, with a single roar from the martial Tao Prime body, a massive earthquake happened in the mountains within the 500,000 kilometers of Weeping Soul Ridge. This was the power of the martial Tao Prime body. Initially, the surroundings were filled with shouts and a deafening might. However, after the roar of the martial Tao Prime body, the clamor of all living beings vanished instantly. There was only the loud sound of many mountains collapsing and gravel rolling down. Everywhere he looked, the mountains collapsed and the ground cracked. It was a scene of the apocalypse. Around the martial Tao Prime body, there were still a few living beings standing on the spot. They were scared out of their wits and their faces were filled with shock. Those living beings were all hell generals. It was not because their cultivation realms were high enough to defend against the sound domain attack of the martial Tao Prime body. It was because the martial Tao Prime body had the intention of keeping them alive. The martial Tao Prime body did not explain and reached out to grab. The essence spirits of the living beings were captured by him, and he was prepared to use the soul-searching art. Right then, the martial Tao Prime body's heart skipped a beat. MMM? In the depths of Weeping Soul Ridge, a figure was fleeing into the distance behind a dust cloud. The aura of that person was much stronger than the few hell generals he had captured. If he was not wrong, the person who escaped should be the territorial lord of Weeping Soul Ridge. The martial Tao Prime body gave chase in a flash. The territorial lord of Weeping Soul Ridge did not manage to escape far when he turned back and his expression changed starkly. The purple-robed man with the silver mask had already arrived behind him. No matter how fast he was, how could he be faster than the martial Tao Prime body? The territorial lord of Weeping Soul Ridge knew that he had no hope of escaping. A vicious glint flashed through his eyes as he spun around and reverted to his true form. He was a ferocious beast, Cheong-Chi, and he lunged towards the martial Tao Prime body. Be it in Tianhuang mainland or the upper world, the Cheong-Chi ferocious beasts were living beings with powerful bloodlines. However, in front of the martial Tao Prime body, this Cheong-Chi was no different from an ant. With a casual slap from the martial Tao Prime body, the Cheong-Chi's brain juices splattered and its body exploded. The martial Tao Prime body reached out and captured the essence spirit of the Cheong-Chi. At the same time, a cold crystal fell from the forehead of the Cheong-Chi. The martial Tao Prime body took it over and took a look. If he was not wrong, this crystal should be the Nether crystal, the equivalent of a Tao fruit of perfected immortals in the upper world. Chapter 2640, 2640 Frost Springs Hell. 2640 Frost Springs Hell. Be it the nether crystal or the Tao fruit, they were both extremely precious treasures. Both of them contained the dharmic Taos of the living beings. In the marketplaces of the upper world, countless perfected immortal experts would fight for them. Given the current cultivation realm of the martial Tao prime body, this nether crystal was of no help to him. However, it was the Tao fruit of a foreign world after all. The martial Tao prime body still intended to observe it when he was free. The martial Tao prime body put away the nether crystal in his storage bag and began to search the souls of the few essence spirits that were captured. The few essence spirits were all hell generals, and their understanding of this foreign world far surpassed the hell pawns. The martial Tao prime body closed his eyes and black chi extended from his palm, coiling around the few essence spirits as information about this foreign world surfaced in his mind. A long time later, the martial Tao prime body opened his eyes and fell into deep thought. The north ridge that he was in, which encompassed 100,000 mountain ridges, had a vast territory that was far beyond his imagination. According to the memories of the few hell generals, the territory of the north ridge was probably comparable to the entire heavenly world. The foreign world he was in was called the Frost Springs Hell. The hell generals did not know much about the Frost Springs Hell either. They had never left the North Ridge in their entire lives. They only knew that there were a few other territories like the North Ridge and Frost Springs Hell. On the east side of Frost Springs Hell, there was a blood-colored plain. It was said that there were no towering mountains or precipitous ridges. However, every single inch of land was dyed red with blood. Even the vegetation over there was covered in a layer of blood. In the south of Frost Springs Hell, there was a fog forest. The environment of Frost Springs Hell was dark and sinister without light. However, it was even more so in the fog forest. It was said that the fog forest was filled with traps. Any living being there, even an unassuming plant, could release a fatal killing intent. To the west of Frost Springs Hell was a dark swamp. There were very few areas of land in the dark swamp, and the living environment was extremely vile, giving birth to many strange life forms. If one were to fall into the swamp by accident, they would be gnawed by many unknown living beings in less than a few breaths, leaving only a skeleton as they sank into the depths of the swamp. Apart from the East Plains, South Forest, West Swamp, and North Ridge, there was also a large area in the middle of Frost Springs Hell known as the Central Capital. The few hell generals had only heard that information from elsewhere. Up till this point of their cultivation, they had never left the North Ridge and knew more about the situation here. Under normal circumstances, given a place like the North Ridge that had a territory as large as the heavenly world, there should be an emperor expert at the very least. However, the strange thing was that in the memories of the few hell generals, the expert who ruled over the North Ridge and was known as King North Ridge was not an emperor, but a hell king. Cultivation resources were extremely scarce in the North Ridge. Beneath each mountain ridge were nether meridians where nether stones could be mined for the living beings here to cultivate. Therefore, in the North Ridge, there would often be battles between factions or experts to fight for the nether meridians and resources. Even for a mountain ridge like Weeping Soul Ridge where there were few nether meridians, countless factions would fight for them. The mountain ridges that were filled with corpses and bones that the martial Tao prime body saw earlier were the many living beings that had died in the North Ridge over the years. It was no exaggeration to say that the environment of the North Ridge and even the entire Frost Springs Hell was even more cruel and bloody than the fiend domain of the heavenly world. In the fiend domain, although there were also many factions and they were mutually wary of one another, there were also some rules. However, there were no rules in Frost Springs Hell and the North Ridge. Even a single nether stone could lead to a massacre. There was only endless killing and bloodshed here. There was only a single rule of nature here, survival of the fittest. When the martial Tao prime body saw that information, he understood why Commander Chui and the living beings of Weeping Soul Ridge attacked him without any reservations. That was because in the minds of the living beings in Frost Springs Hell, there was only killing and fighting. Of course, The reason why the living beings of Weeping Soul Ridge were so hostile to him was because he was from the heavenly world. However, in the memories of the Hell Generals, the Martial Tao Prime Body could not find any information about the heavenly world. More than that, he did not know how he should return to the heavenly world. Right then, the sound of killing could be heard from the horizon not far away. The war drums sounded, and it was as though a massive army was charging over from the darkness. The Martial Tao Prime Body jolted awake from his thoughts and looked over, frowning slightly. Indeed, there was a massive army formed by countless living beings charging over in a dense and black mass. Their leader was clad in black armor and helmet, wielding a pitch-black spear. Beneath him rode a hellhound with 3 heads. It opened its mouth that was filled with sharp fangs, and its 6 eyes shone with a dark glint. Its teeth were stained with blood and flesh. This was also a Hell General. However, the aura released by this Hell General far surpassed the few people who died in Su Zimo's hands, and was even above the territorial lord of Weeping Soul Ridge. If he was not wrong, this Hell General's cultivation realm should be at the level of a peak perfected immortal in the heavenly world. The Martial Tao Prime Body focused his gaze and saw everything clearly. There was a strange rune on the Hell General's glabella. The Martial Tao Prime Body had seen such strange runes somewhere before. Back then, after the Green Lotus True Body derived the Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra, the Martial Tao Prime Body read it once. However, he could not identify the strange runes either. The rune on the Hell General's glabella was similar to the runes in the Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra. They should be the same type of words. Immediately after, there was a beautiful woman with fair skin riding on a black divine steed. She had a beautiful figure and was half a body behind the Hell General. Apart from the man and woman, there were hundreds of other Hell Generals behind them. There were even more Hell Pawns that charged from all over the mountains and plains with hostility. The Martial Tao Prime Body had no intention of dodging. From the looks of it, they were not here for him. Furthermore, given his status, even if he was in a foreign world, there was no reason for him to avoid a massive army. The Hell General in the lead rode on the 3-headed hellhound. He frowned as he looked at the ruins around him. A shocked expression appeared on the face of the beautiful woman behind him. Who did this? How did Weeping Soul Ridge that spanned 500,000 kilometers turn into such a state? Her gaze shifted, and she caught sight of the purple-robed man with the silver mask not far away. Why does this person exude the aura of a living being? The beautiful woman frowned slightly. That aura was out of place with the surroundings and was extremely obvious. However, before long, she caught sight of the ferocious beast, Cheong-Chi, whose body was mostly shattered, lying in a pool of blood beneath the purple-robed man's feet. The territorial lord of Weeping Soul Ridge was already dead. Furthermore, it seemed like he had only just died. Chapter 2641. 2641 Single Punch. 2641 Single Punch. The black-armored man rode on the 3-headed hellhound and arrived before the Martial Tao Prime Body slowly. He only stopped when he was less than an arm's length away. His actions were extremely offensive. The 6 eyes of the hellhound glared at the Martial Tao Prime Body with a ferocious glint. Its open mouth was right in front of the latter and was within reach. As long as its master gave the order, it was certain that it could tear the purple-robed man before it into pieces. The aura released by the purple-robed man made it feel extremely disgusted. There was no fear in the eyes of the Martial Tao Prime Body as his expression turned cold. "Why aren't you bowing when you see me?" The black-armored man looked down at the Martial Tao Prime Body and asked coldly. "Scram." The Martial Tao Prime Body did not waste his breath on him and merely spat out a single word coldly. The black-armored man was stunned for a moment, as though he had not expected the Martial Tao Prime Body to dare to speak to him like that. The expressions of the dense army of hell pawns behind him changed when they heard that word. "You must be tired of living." Hundreds of Hell Generals released killing intents that locked onto Su Zimo instantly, ready to attack at any moment. The hellhound barked wildly at the martial Tao prime body as well. If not for the black-armored man's control, it would have lunged forward. The beautiful woman looked at the martial Tao prime body and shook her head gently, reminding out of goodwill, "This is Nether General North Black. Why aren't you coming over to greet him?" "Nether General?" The martial Tao prime body frowned slightly. When he used the soul-searching art earlier, the memories only revealed hell pawns and hell generals. If so, what were Nether Generals? When the beautiful woman saw that the martial Tao prime body was still standing on the spot with a hint of confusion in his calm gaze, she could not help but say, "Don't tell me you haven't even heard of Nether General North Black?" "No," the martial Tao prime body said. His spirit consciousness had long detected that the so-called Nether General North Black before him was only at the cultivation realm of a Hell General. It was just that their titles were different. "Foo-foo." Nether General North Black sneered but was not enraged. He asked, "You were the one who killed the territorial lord of Weeping Soul Ridge?" "Yes," the martial Tao prime body said. "You flattened the entire Weeping Soul Ridge single-handedly?" The beautiful woman asked in disbelief. They had just arrived and could clearly see that Weeping Soul Ridge within a radius of 1,000,000 kilometers had already turned into ruins, as though a gigantic earthquake had happened. "Don't be nervous." Nether General North Black smiled gently. "I don't care about the territorial lord of Weeping Soul Ridge. You can take over his role. However, all the spoils of war of Weeping Soul Ridge have to be handed over to me." Pausing for a moment, he said coldly, "Let me remind you not to negotiate any conditions with me. I've already spared your life earlier on." "Lord North Black, are we going to let him off just like that? He did not take the initiative to come up and greet you. Earlier on, he even spoke rudely and offended you. It's too easy on him to spare his life." The hundreds of Hell Generals behind Nether General North Black cried out one after another with no intention of letting the martial Tao prime body off. "What are you waiting for? Agree," the beautiful woman reminded at the side. Suddenly, the martial Tao prime body laughed. To be fair, he did not take the spoils of war of the so-called Weeping Soul Ridge seriously at all, and would not even mind if Nether General North Black took them away. However, he was extremely disgusted by this person's words and actions. Even in the heavenly world, it has been many years since anyone had dared to threaten him, right? As though he was afraid that the martial Tao prime body would not understand, Nether General North Black pointed at the territorial lord of Weeping Soul Ridge's corpse. "This beast's nether crystal has already been dug away and should be on you. Remember to hand over this nether crystal as well. Don't keep it for yourself." The martial Tao prime body said indifferently, "Let me also remind you out of goodwill. Hurry and scram." Roar. Before Nether General North Black could attack, the three-headed hellhound he was riding on could no longer hold it in. It let out a furious roar and lunged towards the martial Tao prime body. Noisy. The martial Tao prime body flipped his palm and slapped down. The palm covered the skies like a gigantic stone mill and smashed down, smashing the three heads of the hellhound. A pool of blood sludge flowed out slowly. The cultivation of this hellhound was not weak either. In Frost Springs Hell, it was a high-level Hell General and had followed Nether General North Black for many years. However, for the martial Tao prime body, it was as simple as crushing an ant. "You must have a death wish." Nether General North Black was enraged and said word by word. The martial Tao prime body flicked his finger gently and a sword chi burst forth at an extremely fast speed, entering the glabella of Nether General North Black instantly. Be it Hell or Nether Generals, they were equivalent to perfected immortals in the heavenly world. The difference between the two of them was way too great. Nether General North Black could not even defend against a simplest casual sword chi from the martial Tao prime body. However, when the sword chi of the martial Tao prime body touched the glabella of Nether General North Black, the strange rune imprinted on his glabella suddenly released a dark and cold power. That power seemed like it wanted to defend against the sharpness of the sword chi. However, the difference in strength between them was like heaven and earth. The sword chi did not stop at all and entered Nether General North Black's consciousness instantly, penetrating his essence spirit. Nether General North Black died on the spot. This time round, the martial Tao Prime Body did not even retain his essence spirit to use the soul-searching art. Everything had happened too quickly. From the moment the three-headed Hellhound was slapped to death by the martial Tao Prime Body to the death of Nether General North Black, less than a breath had passed. By the time the hundreds of Hell Generals reacted, the man and hound were already dead on the spot. The Hell Generals were shocked. They had not expected that Nether General North Black would be killed by a single sword chi. Less than that, they had not expected that this mysterious purple-robed man, who concealed himself thoroughly, would dare to attack Nether General North Black. Was he not afraid of the vengeance of the ancient Nether race? Kill him. The hundreds of Hell Generals reacted quickly and roared. Each of them summoned their divine weapons, Dharmic treasures, and released a ferocious attack towards the martial Tao Prime Body. The martial Tao Prime Body could see everything clearly. In this Frost Springs Hell, the methods released by the Hell Generals were not much different from the divine powers and secret skills of the upper world. However, there was an additional cold power in those divine powers and secret skills. The martial Tao Prime Body was expressionless as he punched. Boom! With that punch, divine weapons, spirit treasures, divine powers, and secret skills dissipated instantly into nothingness. Even the hundreds of Hell Generals on the other end were turned into blood mists by that single punch from the martial Tao Prime Body. The group of Hell Generals were destroyed by a single punch from the martial Tao Prime Body, and their essence spirits were destroyed. The densely packed Hell Pawns that filled the mountains and plains had just charged forward when they saw that. Their faces turned pale, and they were scared out of their wits. It was already too late for those Hell Pawns to want to escape. Suddenly, a ball of black flames extended from the body of the martial Tao Prime Body. Eternal Sacred King. Chapter 2642, 2642, North Ridge Princess. 2642, North Ridge Princess. The martial Tao Prime Body did not release the full power of the Hellfire at all. Given his current cultivation, even a supreme immortal king might not be able to defend against it if he channeled Hellfire. Even a fraction of its strength was more than enough against the group of Hell Pawns before him. The black flames spread rapidly like a prairie fire and engulfed many Hell Pawns before long. The Hell Pawns were burned to ashes before they could even let out tragic cries. The Black Army under Nether General North Black's lead fled. They arrived quickly but were defeated even faster. No one dared to stay on the spot. The martial Tao Prime Body's heart skipped a beat. As though he sensed something, he glanced sideways at the void in the distance before retracting his gaze. He did not kill them all and merely revealed sufficient strength to chase away the Hell Pawns before putting away the Hellfire. However, almost all the Hell Generals who wanted to kill him earlier on died on the spot. The beautiful woman was the only one who survived. The martial Tao Prime Body did not have any protective feelings towards women. However, the beautiful woman had just reminded him out of goodwill, and she was the only one in the group who did not have any hostility towards him. That was the reason why the martial Tao Prime Body spared her life. Why you're finished. The beautiful woman looked at the scene before her with a horrified expression. She looked at the martial Tao Prime Body and said with a trembling voice, "You killed Nether General North Black. The experts of Corpse Mountain Ridge will definitely not let you off. Why you should hurry and escape. If you can escape from the North Ridge, you might have a chance of survival. Otherwise, you'll definitely die." The beautiful woman urged the martial Tao Prime Body. Where is Corpse Mountain Ridge? The martial Tao Prime Body was unmoved and asked instead. Right then, a woman's voice sounded from afar. Corpse Mountain Ridge is one of the 10 great Hell Ridges of the North Ridge. The territorial lord is known as Hell King Corpse Mountain, and he has more than 100 experts at the level of Hell Kings under his lead. Right then, a crack appeared in the void not far away and 3 people walked out slowly. The person who spoke was a young girl. She wore a black robe that wrapped around her voluptuous and alluring figure. Her skin was fair as snow, and she looked even prettier than the beautiful woman. Furthermore, there was a graceful aura around the black-robed girl, as though she came from an extraordinary background. Beside the black-robed girl stood a black-robed man. His face was pale, and he had handsome features. Raising his head slightly, there was a hint of pride in his eyes. The man and woman looked compatible standing together. However, it was clear that the method of tearing through the void earlier on was not something the two of them could use. The man and woman were both hell generals and could not do that. Behind the black-robed girl was an expressionless middle-aged man with a powerful aura. He was already at the Grotto-heaven realm. According to the difference in cultivation realm and Frost Springs hell, the middle-aged man should be a hell king. However, the middle-aged man stood behind the black-robed girl, so in terms of status, he should be lower. In reality, the moment the martial Tao prime body released the hellfire, he sensed a ripple in the void over there. As the martial Tao prime body observed the two men and a woman, he thought to himself, the number of Hell Kings in Corpse Mountain Ridge alone probably surpasses Heaven and Earth Academy. However, Corpse Mountain Ridge is only one of the 10 great Hell Ridges of the North Ridge. It's clear how strong the North Ridge is. The strange thing is that despite the vast territory and deep foundation of the North Ridge, King North Ridge is only an expert of the Hell King realm. Is there no Emperor in the North Ridge, or is there some other reason why Emperor experts are dormant? As the martial Tao prime body pondered, the two men and a woman in midair sized him up as well. To be precise, the black-robed girl was the only one who paid special attention to the martial Tao prime body with a hint of curiosity in her eyes. As for the black-robed man beside her and the middle-aged man behind her, they merely glanced at the martial Tao prime body casually and did not take it to heart. You might still be able to survive in the North Ridge even after killing Nether General North Black. The black-robed girl smiled gently and said confidently, I can protect you in the North Ridge. Oh. The martial Tao prime body did not say anything and was merely surprised. The beautiful woman who survived looked at the black-robed girl and sneered, What do you have to protect him with? Do you have the strength? The black-robed girl's cultivation realm was not much different from hers. Even if the middle-aged man behind the black-robed girl was a Hell King, he could not go against the powerful foundation of Hell King Corpse Mountain. I have my name. The black-robed girl laughed and waved her hand at the martial Tao prime body. Let's get to know one another. My name is Tang Chinga. Tang Chinga. The beautiful woman murmured softly and looked at the badge on the black-robed girl's waist. Her expression changed starkly as she exclaimed, Why, you're the little princess of King North Ridge. That's right. Tang Chinga nodded. In the North Ridge, King North Ridge was probably the only one who could protect anyone hunted down by Corpse Mountain Ridge. Greetings, princess. When the beautiful woman realized that it was Tang Chinga, she knelt down hurriedly and bowed, not daring to delay. You can leave first. This is none of your business. Tang Chinga waved at the beautiful woman gently, and the latter fled hurriedly, as though she had been pardoned. She then descended from midair and walked towards the martial Tao prime body. Although there were no rules or etiquette in this Frost Springs hell, and it was filled with bloodshed everywhere, Tang Chinga was at least friendly to him. The martial Tao prime body could not sense hostility from Tang Chinga either. Watch out. The black-robed man frowned slightly and followed hurriedly, reminding. I'm fine. Tang Chinga smiled. I have you, Uncle Chun. The black-robed man said proudly, Don't worry, Chinga. Even without Uncle Chun making a move, I can kill him if anything happens. As he said that, the black-robed man gestured fiercely in the direction of the martial Tao prime body, implying something. Thank you. Tang Chinga smiled. It was clear that the black-robed man was interested in Tang Chinga. At the same time, she was not resistant towards him either. In the blink of an eye, the three of them arrived before the martial Tao prime body. Tang Chinga asked, Have you considered it? As long as you're willing to join me, Father can protect you and even step in to resolve this matter for you. Chinga. Uncle Chun frowned slightly and reminded softly. The black-robed man added hurriedly, Chinga. This person's background is unknown, and he exudes the aura of a living being. We should be careful. Why are you helping me? The martial Tao prime body asked with a calm expression. Tang Qinger said, I just saw that your methods are not weak, and you should have already touched the threshold of a Hell King. It'll be a pity if you're killed by Corpse Mountain Ridge. That was naturally just an excuse. Tang Qinger and the other two traveled through space and were prepared to return to North Ridge City. They only stopped when they saw what happened on the way and descended here under Tang Qinger's insistence. Tang Qinger continued, My father has been a Hell King for many years. In this aspect, a few words from him will benefit you more than tens of thousands of years of your own cultivation. Chapter 2643, 2643 North Ridge Birthday Banquet. 2643 North Ridge Birthday Banquet. Right from the beginning, the martial Tao prime body had not used his full strength, let alone release the aura and methods of a Grotto-heaven. Therefore, in the eyes of Tang Qinger and the other two, the cultivation realm of the martial Tao prime body was only at the threshold of a Hell King. King North Ridge? The martial Tao prime body murmured softly in deep thought. Right now, he did not know enough about Frost Springs Hell. King North Ridge was definitely one of the people who knew this foreign world the best. When Tang Qinger saw that the martial Tao prime body was silent, she thought that he was still wary and smiled. Don't worry, although father is King North Ridge, he loves me extremely. As long as I plead with him, he'll definitely help me resolve this matter. Although the status of Nether General North Black is not low, this matter is still nothing much for father. At the side, Uncle Chun frowned slightly and urged, Your Highness, the king's birthday banquet is approaching. Let's hurry back and not linger here for too long. That's right. The black-robed man glared at the martial Tao prime body before saying, Qinger, why waste time with this person? I want to meet your father earlier and catch a glimpse of the glory of King North Ridge. The birthday banquet of King North Ridge? The martial Tao prime body's heart skipped a beat. If it was the birthday banquet of King North Ridge, such a scene would probably be a rare grand occasion for the North Ridge. All the factions and the 10 great Hell Ridges would probably be present. Corpse Mountain Ridge alone had hundreds of Hell Kings. How many Hell Kings would be present for the birthday banquet of King North Ridge? The simplest way to understand this foreign world as soon as possible was to communicate with the top experts here. Even without the appearance of the Princess of the North Ridge, the martial Tao prime body was planning to look for the Hell King experts here to understand more about the situation. Since he was in time for the birthday banquet of King North Ridge and so many Hell Kings would be present, the martial Tao prime body could save some trouble. Hey, masked man. When the black-robed man saw that the martial Tao prime body was silent, he sneered. All the kings gathered at the birthday banquet of King North Ridge are big shots. You might not be able to withstand such a line-up. The martial Tao prime body was expressionless and did not even look at the black-robed man. He merely pointed at the latter and asked Tang Qinger, Who is that? The black-robed man was truly noisy. The martial Tao prime body was considering whether he should kill the black-robed man. You're not worthy of knowing my name. The black-robed man declared proudly, All you have to know is that I'm the young master of the South Forest. There were 5 regions in Frost Springs Hell, East Plains, South Forest, West Swamp, North Ridge, and the Central Capital. The so-called young master of the South Forest should mean that he's the son of the king in the Fog Forest of the South. Uncle Chun said indifferently, The young master of the South Forest cultivated in the Central Capital with Her Highness, and they've known one another for many years. Their families are compatible, and the South Forest will send someone to the North Ridge for the king's birthday banquet to ask for her hand in marriage. Uncle Chin's words were actually a warning to the martial Tao prime body and remind him to watch himself and not harbor any improper thoughts. The birthday banquet of King North Ridge this time round was also a double blessing. At the mention of that, Tang Qinger looked at the young master of the South Forest beside her and smiled gently. Actually, she was still a little lost about this matter. To be precise, she merely did not dislike the young master of the South Forest. However, as her father and Uncle Chun had said, they were well matched in terms of social status. Perhaps this person was the right candidate for her. In reality, Uncle Chun was thinking too much. The martial Tao prime body had only met Tang Qing'er by chance and was not interested in her at all. However, since this young master of the South Forest was about to become Tang Qing'er's Tao companion, the martial Tao prime body could not kill him just like that. There was no need to turn this originally joyous matter into a funeral. Furthermore, the martial Tao prime body wanted to attend the birthday banquet of King Northridge. If he killed the son-in-law of King Northridge, there was no way he could attend the birthday banquet. He would have to kill his way through. The martial Tao prime body ignored the young master of the South Forest and nodded to Tang Qing'er. I can follow you guys to take a look. We can discuss whether or not I'll join the Northridge later on. All right. Tang Qing'er smiled. Stay by my side first. When the time comes, I'll show you the power and foundation of the Northridge. You can decide for yourself. May I know your name? Tang Qing'er turned to look at the martial Tao prime body. Desolate Marshal? The martial Tao prime body said indifferently. Your Highness, let's go. Uncle Chun urged once more. All right. Tang Qing'er beckoned to the martial Tao prime body. Come over to my side and be closer. Uncle Chun is prepared to tear through the void and undergo a long-distance spatial teleportation. If you're too far away and leave Uncle Chun's range, you'll be devoured by the endless void and you'll never be able to return. The martial Tao prime body nodded and did not reject. He took a step forward and came to Tang Qing'er's side. Humph. When he saw that, a dark look flashed through the eyes of the young master of the South Forest as he harumphed coldly. Uncle Chun glared at the martial Tao prime body and released the power of the Grotto-heaven realm. He tore through the void and brought Tang Qing'er, the young master of the South Forest, and the martial Tao prime body into the spatial tunnel. The four of them shuttled through the spatial tunnel continuously, and the martial Tao prime body had a calm expression. However, he was wearing a silver mask and no one could see his expression. When the four of them tore through the void once more and walked out of the spatial tunnel, the young master of the South Forest could not help but mock, Desolate Marshal, or whatever your name is. How do you feel? Remember this feeling. This might be the only time in your life that you can make a long-distance teleportation through a spatial tunnel. Earlier on, we were still in Weeping Soul Ridge. Now, we've arrived at the center of the North Ridge. The martial Tao prime body ignored the young master of the South Forest and merely looked over. Not far ahead, there was a gigantic city that occupied a vast area. It was pitch black and filled with strange rocks. In its majestic aura was a sinister and terrifying feeling. Even the capitals of the three immortal kingdoms of the divine firmament immortal domain seemed much smaller compared to this city. Northridge City. As the birthday banquet of King Northridge approached, Northridge City became noisy and lively. The martial Tao prime body and the other three were not the only people. In other directions, there were also many factions and cultivators heading towards Northridge City. Many cultivators revealed reverence and avoided the martial Tao prime body's group of four at the sight of them walking out of the void. Go on. Tang Qing'er smiled at the martial Tao prime body and said. The martial Tao prime body followed behind Tang Qing'er and suddenly sent a voice transmission. The reason why you want to recruit me as a subordinate of King Northridge isn't because of my strength, right? King Northridge ruled over a myriad of ridges and had countless experts under his lead. Tang Qing'er clearly had other motives. However, the martial Tao prime body did not mind because he could not sense any hostility from Tang Qing'er. Even if Tang Qing'er had any ill intentions, the martial Tao prime body was fearless. Tang Qing'er remained silent for a moment before sending a voice transmission. I'm a little interested in your background. You're not someone from Frost Springs Hell, right? Chapter 2644, 2644 9 Hells, 2644 9 Hells. I'm from the heavenly world. The martial Tao prime body had no intention of hiding his background, and there was no need for that. Heavenly world? Tang Qing'er looked at the martial Tao prime body in disbelief and asked, Are you really from the heavenly world? Is it the heavenly world of the medium Kiliacosm? The martial Tao prime body nodded slightly. How is that possible? Tang Qinger was still in disbelief. I heard from my father that there's a powerful restriction barrier between the medium kiliacosm and the hell world. Even experts who have cultivated to the Emperor realm won't be able to enter the hell world. I only entered this place by some freak coincidence as well. The martial Tao prime body did not explain further. He could not explain this clearly either. Even he was puzzled and had countless questions in his mind. What was the hell world you mentioned earlier on? The martial Tao prime body sensed that there was an extremely important piece of information hidden in Tang Qinger's words and asked, could it be that the hell world doesn't belong to the medium kiliacosm? Under normal circumstances, the various worlds in the medium kiliacosm were separated by a boundless sea of stars. Although cultivators had low cultivation realms and it was difficult for them to cross the starry skies, generally speaking, there were no so-called restrictions within the various worlds. Even perfected immortals and immortal kings could enter other worlds, let alone emperor experts. It was unusual for such a restriction barrier to exist between the hell world and the medium kiliacosm. Of course not, Tang Qinger said. The hell world is isolated from the medium kiliacosm and can be considered as an existence that's on par with the medium kiliacosm. It's both under the scope of the major kiliacosm. When he heard that, the martial Tao prime body's heart skipped a beat. In the entire medium kiliacosm, there were 3,000 worlds. The heavenly world, great wilderness, dragon world, sword world, parasol tree world, and so on belonged to the medium kiliacosm. However, the so-called hell world could stand side by side with the entire medium kiliacosm. The Frost Springs hell we're in is merely a hell in the hell world. Tang Qinger continued. In the entire hell world, there are a total of 9 hells. They are the Heavy Springs hell, Yellow Springs hell, Frost Springs hell, Een Springs hell, Serene Springs hell, Lower Springs hell, Bitter Springs hell, Boundless Springs hell, and the number 1 hell that's located in the middle, Torment Springs hell. 9 hells. The martial Tao prime body was secretly alarmed. This hell world was even more mysterious and shocking than he had imagined. The north ridge of Frost Springs hell alone was comparable to the territory of the heavenly world. What sort of a world was the entire Frost Springs hell and even the 9 hells? Hell suppression, hell suppression. Could it be that the true intention of Great Emperor Infinite was to suppress the 9 hells? He recalled how the many living beings of hell revealed immense hatred and hostility towards him when they heard that he was from the heavenly world. That guess was not impossible. The martial Tao prime body asked, why are the people here so hostile towards the upper world? Tang Qinger said, there are many theories. The nether chi of the hell world has dried up over the years and cultivation has become increasingly difficult. Some people say that it has something to do with the upper world. Some people also said that the former Lord of Hell was suppressed by experts of the upper world an era ago. When he heard that, the martial Tao prime body's heart skipped a beat. An era ago should have been the infinite era. In Greater Avicii, he had encountered 2 wills. Could one of them be the Lord of Hell? If so, who was the other one? Tang Qinger continued. Someone even said that, in fact, we could have not lived in this dark and sinister hell world and could have had a better environment outside. It was all because of the suppression and bullying of the living beings of the upper world that we were suppressed here all year round. Pausing for a moment, Tang Qinger smiled. I don't know the exact reason either. In any case, the living beings of hell are indeed extremely hostile towards the upper world. Don't casually reveal your identity or background. Since that's the case, why do you want to recruit me? The martial Tao prime body asked. He could sense that Tang Qinger's attitude towards him was different from the other living beings of hell. At the very least, she was not hostile. Tang Qinger said, I've never been to the upper world, nor have I come into contact with living beings of the upper world. Who knows what the upper world is like? I'm only filled with curiosity about the worlds and living beings that I've never seen or come into contact with personally. There's no hatred. The reason why I recruited you was because I wanted to understand the upper world through you. I hope that you can tell me about it if there's a chance. At that point, Tang Qinger's eyes were filled with curiosity. The martial Tao prime body nodded. While the two of them were sending voice transmissions with their spirit consciousnesses, the four of them had already arrived before North Ridge City. When the guards at the city gate saw the badge on Tang Chinger's waist, they revealed respectful expressions and bowed hurriedly to give way. The four of them entered the city successfully. The Martial Dao Prime Body walked through the largest city in the North Ridge, and everything around him was novel. This was a civilization completely different from the heavenly world. Be it the architectural style, the crowds that came and went, or even every single detail of the ancient city, everything revealed the dark style of hell and its unique atmosphere. The colors of hell were rather monotonous. Almost everything in the ancient city was matched with black and red. In the sinisterness, there was a hint of blood and terror. As the birthday banquet of King North Ridge approached, North Ridge City looked festive as well. There were many lanterns that shone with blood hanging on both sides of the streets. In the dark, ancient city, it was as though an ancient, ferocious beast had widened its bloodshot eyes. Some cultivators had just hung up their lanterns when the Martial Dao Prime Body swept his gaze across and narrowed his eyes slightly. Fresh blood was still dripping from beneath the lanterns, emitting a faint blood stench. The lanterns were only put out after they were soaked in fresh blood. Such a terrifying thing seemed extremely ordinary in this ancient city of the hell world. Furthermore, it was perfectly compatible with the surroundings without any awkwardness. The hierarchy in Frost Springs Hell was strict. On the streets, only Hell generals could walk boldly through the middle. The narrow spaces on both sides of the streets were passages left for the many Hell pawns to travel through. As for the skies above the ancient city, one can only pass through it while under the lead of a Hell King expert. Of course, among the four of them, because Tang Chinger had a noble status and was the daughter of King North Ridge, no one stopped her from flying through the air. My, isn't that the little princess of the North Ridge? Not far away, a voice sounded with a hint of frivolity. The four of them turned over. Not far away, a large group of cultivators tore through the air. Their leader was dressed in jade-green robes and played with two fireballs that burned with green flames. This person's cultivation realm was merely that of a Hell general. However, behind him stood a Hell King expert with a terrifying aura and eyes that seemed to be burning with green flames. This young man looked like he had a high status. Chapter 2645, 2645 Threat, 2645 Threat. So, it's the young master of Verdant Flame Ridge. When Tang Chinger saw who it was, she cupped her fists and greeted. Similar to Corpse Mountain Ridge, Verdant Flame Ridge was one of the 10 Great Hell Ridges. The young master of Verdant Flame Ridge said with a smile, "The little princess of the North Ridge usually cultivates in the central capital. It's truly rare that you're making such a long journey to return for the birthday banquet of King North Ridge." Tang Chinger said, "I naturally can't miss Father's 800,000-year-old birthday." Of course. The eyes of the young master of Verdant Flame Ridge curved sharper. "The true pity will be if you miss King North Ridge's birthday banquet this time round." "Young master," the Hell King expert of Verdant Flame Ridge said softly, "it's time for us to leave." "Understood." The young master of Verdant Flame Ridge laughed and led the large group of people to brush past Tang Chinger and the others. The Martial Dao Prime Body felt something strange. Logically speaking, Verdant Flame Ridge was only one of the 10 Great Hell Ridges and was under the rule of King North Ridge. However, he did not seem to have much respect for Tang Chinger in North Ridge City, which was right under the nose of King North Ridge. "That's him." Right then, a shout sounded not far away. "The person in the purple robe and silver mask, that's him." The Martial Dao Prime Body and the others looked over. Another large group of cultivators walked towards them with an aggressive aura. They were hostile. The group of them exuded a strong aura of death, and their skin had green tinges. "Enemies are bound to meet." Tang Chinger frowned slightly inside. "They're from Corpse Mountain Ridge?" the Martial Dao Prime Body asked. Tang Chinger nodded. "To think that we would meet here in advance. But don't worry, they won't do anything to you with me around." The reason why Tang Qing'er was so protective of the martial Tao prime body was because she was curious about the upper world. She wanted to obtain some information about the upper world from the martial Tao prime body. However, the young master of the South Forest felt another feeling when he saw that. He was displeased and his gaze darkened. So, it's the young master of Corpse Mountain Ridge. Tang Qing'er took the initiative to step forward, shielding the martial Tao prime body behind her as she greeted the young man in the lead. The little princess of the North Ridge? The young master of Corpse Mountain Ridge frowned and waved it off. Make way. I'm looking for that purple-robed man behind you. Uncle Chen's expression darkened. He glared at the young master of Corpse Mountain Ridge and said coldly, "This is our princess of the North Ridge. Watch your tone and attitude." A Hell King behind the young master of Corpse Mountain Ridge stood out as well. "Brother Chen, this has nothing to do with the North Ridge. I advise you guys not to interfere." Tang Qing'er smiled gently. "Everyone, I was present when everything happened. There was some misunderstanding that caused both parties to fight. Please don't pursue this matter on account of my father." "Why? Are you trying to say that our Corpse Mountain Ridge's Nether General North Black shall die for nothing?" The Hell King of Corpse Mountain Ridge narrowed his gaze and said aggressively, "Little princess of the North Ridge, you have to think carefully. Nether General North Black is someone from the ancient Nether race. The ancient Nether race has a noble status in hell indeed. However, North Black was only a Nether general at the end of the day." Tang Qing'er gradually retracted the smile on her face. Her tone turned cold as she asked, "My father is King North Ridge. Is his reputation inferior to a mere Nether general?" The young master of Corpse Mountain Ridge sneered. "The reputation of King North Ridge, Fufu." Initially, Uncle Chen harbored some dislike towards the martial Tao prime body as well. However, at that moment, it was clear from the attitudes of the young master and Hell King of Corpse Mountain Ridge that they were looking down on King North Ridge. That was something that Uncle Chen could not tolerate. "Guys." Uncle Chen narrowed his eyes that shone with a cold glint and said slowly, "Let me remind you guys that this is North Ridge City, not Corpse Mountain Ridge. Be careful, trouble comes from your mouths. The birthday banquet of King North Ridge is approaching. The North Ridge doesn't mind using the corpses and fresh blood of an entire Hell Ridge to liven things up at his birthday banquet." It was a blatant threat. The expressions of the young master and Hell King of Corpse Mountain Ridge changed clearly. They looked wary. "Young master, endure it first. There's no need to be hasty," the Hell King reminded secretly. The young master of Corpse Mountain Ridge had a dark expression. After a moment of silence, he suddenly smiled. "Not bad. The North Ridge sure is impressive. Just you wait and see." With that said, the young master of Corpse Mountain Ridge beckoned and led the way with the cultivators behind him. "Humph." Looking at the back view of Corpse Mountain Ridge's group, Uncle Chen harumphed coldly and said sinisterly, "After the king's birthday banquet, Corpse Mountain Ridge should be replaced." "Go on." Tang Qing'er said, "Let's forget about this matter." The martial Tao prime body witnessed the entire process and felt that things were not simple. Although North Ridge City seemed peaceful and joyous, there were actually undercurrents surging. Be it Verdant Flame Ridge or Corpse Mountain Ridge, their attitude towards Tang Qing'er was clearly a little strange. Furthermore, the young master of Corpse Mountain Ridge seemed to be implying something. The young master of Verdant Flame Ridge seemed like he wanted to say something as well. However, he was reminded by the Hell King of Verdant Flame Ridge and left first. "Seems like this birthday banquet of King North Ridge won't be peaceful," the martial Tao prime body thought to himself. The young master of the South Forest at the side witnessed everything as well and was slightly puzzled. However, he did not think too much about it and followed Tang Qing'er and the others into the palace of North Ridge City. Not long after they entered the palace, a group of people walked over. Their leader was tall and had a powerful aura. Every single move he made exuded the dominance of a king. "Big brother." When Tang Qing'er saw that person, she smiled and greeted him from afar. It was the eldest prince of King North Ridge, Tang Hao. He was the one overseeing the birthday banquet this time round and was a Hell King. "Qing'er, you're back." Tang Hao's gaze shifted. When he saw Tang Qing'er, he smiled as well and strode over. Your Highness. Uncle Qin bowed. Tang Hao nodded slightly. He looked at Tang Qing'er and smiled. You've been cultivating in the central capital and haven't seen Father for many years. Father was also delighted when he heard that you've returned. Pausing for a moment, he looked at the young master of the South Forest and sized him up. This must be the young master of the South Forest, right? Greetings, Your Highness. The young master of the South Forest cupped his fists hurriedly. Tang Hao smiled and nodded. You're indeed a handsome young man with a dignified appearance. Father should be very satisfied to see you. Where's Father? Let's pay him a visit. Tang Qing'er asked. This is... Tang Hao's gaze shifted to the martial Dao prime body and he narrowed his eyes slightly. For some unknown reason, Tang Hao could not sense the cultivation realm of the martial Dao prime body. Furthermore, the martial Dao prime body exuded the aura of a living person that was incompatible with the surroundings. This is a friend I met on the way back. I can take him to meet Father at the same time. Tang Qing'er explained briefly. Father is resting in his chamber. You guys can go on. As Tang Hao said that, he scanned the martial Dao prime body. However, no matter how he checked, he could not see the depths of the martial Dao prime body. Chapter 2646, 2646 Welcome to Hell. 2646 Welcome to Hell. The chamber of King North Ridge was not as quaint and bedazzling as the immortal sects and immortal kingdoms of the heavenly world. Instead, it was filled with a sinister and terrifying aura. Even the pool water that surrounded the chamber was blood-red and emitted a faint blood stench. From time to time, scarlet fish with sharp fangs would leap out of the water. The martial Dao prime body was no longer surprised by everything. Under Tang Qing'er's lead, the few of them arrived at the depths of the chamber before long and met the legendary King North Ridge. At that moment, King North Ridge was sitting on a chair made of white bones. It was surrounded by a blood pool and dense skulls were piled at the feet of the chair. This birthday banquet was known as the 800,000-year-old celebration of King North Ridge. Under normal circumstances, Grotto-heaven realm experts had a lifespan of around 1,000,000 years. Now that King North Ridge was 800,000 years old, he was actually no longer at his peak. Even so, there was no sign of decline or haggardness from King North Ridge. Although his eyes were closed, King North Ridge exuded an unimaginable might as he sat on the white bone throne. This was an aura that could only be nurtured after one was in the upper echelons for a long time with countless corpses and blood trampled beneath him. The spirit consciousness of the martial Dao prime body swept past King North Ridge. According to the heavenly world, this King North Ridge should be a supreme immortal king with a major Grotto-heaven. It seemed like the saying that cultivation was difficult in Frost Springs, hell was not groundless. The expert who ruled over the entire North Ridge and stood at the peak was only a supreme immortal king. In fact, he had not even cultivated his Grotto-heaven to the perfected stage. Suddenly, King North Ridge opened his eyes. Two shuddering cold beams of light seemed to burst forth from the dark chamber as a malevolent and bloodthirsty aura spread instantly. Uncle Qian did not dare to meet his gaze and bowed hurriedly. The young master of the South Forest often followed King South Forest and was long familiar with these supreme experts. However, he was still stunned by the aura of King North Ridge and his heart skipped a beat. Only the martial Dao prime body was expressionless and had a calm gaze. Father, Tang Qing'er shouted with a smile. King North Ridge's gaze paused slightly on the martial Dao prime body before turning to Tang Qing'er. His expression softened as he revealed a smile and nodded slightly. Qing'er, you're back. Yes. Tang Qing'er smiled. I rushed back with some gifts to celebrate your 800,000-year-old birthday, Father. How thoughtful, Qing'er. King North Ridge nodded. Tang Qing'er continued, By the way, Father, I brought two friends back with me. Greetings, King North Ridge. I'm Shintu Ing. The young master of the South Forest hurried forward to greet with a respectful expression. Shuntu Ing, King North Ridge said, young master of the South Forest, right? How has your father been recently? The young master of the South Forest said hurriedly, my father's health is fine. He has you on his mind but doesn't have the chance to come and meet you. The two of them exchanged pleasantries. King North Ridge was distracted, as though he knew about the matter between Tang Chinger and the young master of the South Forest and did not make things difficult for the latter. To be precise, the attention of King North Ridge was not on the young master of the South Forest at all. He was still paying attention to the martial Tao prime body. Also, this is fellow Taoist desolate martial. Tang Chinger recounted the process of them getting to know one another briefly. Father, will it anger you that I made this decision to resolve the matter under your name? It's fine. The death of Nether General North Black isn't significant. King North Ridge waved it off. Even if a few Hell Kings of theirs were killed, what can Corpse Mountain Ridge say? Pausing for a moment, he looked at the martial Tao prime body and his eyes shone with a shuddering light as a tremendous might descended slowly. As King North Ridge, his judgment was naturally far superior to Tang Chinger and the others. Although he could not tell the depths of the martial Tao prime body, he could clearly sense that the latter was definitely not at the level of a Hell General. Are you really from the heavenly world? King North Ridge asked slowly. Yes. Against the might of King North Ridge, the martial Tao prime body had a calm expression. Furthermore, I want to ask you how to return to the heavenly world. How dare you? Uncle Chin hollered. How dare you speak to the king like that instead of bowing down? Although the martial Tao prime body stood below, he stood upright. Ever since he entered the chamber, he had not bowed to King North Ridge. The tone he used earlier on was as though he was communicating with his peers without any respect. Even Tang Chinger was worried for the martial Tao prime body. If her father were to take offense, she would definitely not be able to protect the martial Tao prime body. Everything else aside, the fact that the martial Tao prime body came from the heavenly world was enough for her father to kill him. Ha 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 ha. Suddenly, King North Ridge burst into laughter. His laughter reverberated through the palace and was deafening, filled with a domineering aura. King North Ridge looked at the martial Tao prime body with a sinister smile and said slowly, since you've arrived at the Hell World, there's no way you can return. The martial Tao prime body frowned slightly. Was he really going to be trapped in the Hell World? What did the so-called Hell World and the 9 Hells have to do with Great Emperor Infinite? What was the old monk's motive for pushing him down? Was it just to trap him in the Hell World? What did the old monk have to do with the Hell World? There were too many questions lingering in his mind. King North Ridge stood up slowly and said, young man, you're quite bold. If it was any other time, you would have been a corpse beneath my feet by now. However, you're a friend brought back by Chinger. I'll spare you this once. Thank you, father. Tang Chinger heaved a sigh of relief and said hurriedly. At the same time, she looked at the martial Tao prime body and kept giving him meaningful glances, asking him to come forward and express his thanks. The martial Tao prime body ignored it. Right now, he was considering whether he should head forward and throw a punch to have a deeper interaction with King North Ridge. However, he could not attack directly when he saw how protective Tang Chinger was. Furthermore, the birthday banquet of King North Ridge was approaching and there was no need to rush. It would not be too late to look for King North Ridge after his birthday banquet. Also, there were so many factions and experts gathered at King North Ridge's birthday banquet, he would definitely be able to obtain more information. King North Ridge glanced at the martial Tao prime body indifferently. My birthday banquet is approaching and I'm in a good mood. I won't hold it against you today. However, let me remind you that this is not the heavenly world. Hell is thousands of times crueler, darker, and bloodier than the heavenly world. The living environment of the heavenly world is like the peaceful, pure land in the eyes of the living beings of hell. In hell, if you're not careful, even your bones will be eaten. Pausing for a moment, King North Ridge grinned at the martial Tao prime body with a sinister smile. Young man, welcome to hell. At that moment, King North Ridge had yet to realize what sort of impact this purple-robed cultivator with the silver mask would bring to the Hell world. Less than that, he could not imagine how much of a storm this mysterious young man would cause in Hell. When he heard King North Ridge's words, the martial Tao Prime body laughed as well. He clenched his fists and murmured softly, "Hell, desolate Marshal has arrived." Chapter 2647, 2647, Dharma Ending Era. 2647, Dharma Ending Era. For the next few days, the martial Tao Prime body stayed in the palace and did not leave. As the birthday banquet of the North Ridge approached, Hell King experts would descend upon North Ridge City from time to time. In the few days, the martial Tao Prime body tried to communicate with the Green Lotus True Body, but there was no reaction. As Tang Qinger had said, the Hell world was ranked alongside the medium Kiliacosm. There must be some sort of a powerful barrier between the two. The barrier could even isolate the connection between Su Zimo's two true bodies. For the past few days, Tang Qinger had been showing the martial Tao Prime body all the ancient books in the Palace of the North Ridge that were related to Hell. Through their interactions, the martial Tao Prime body had a rough understanding of Frost Springs Hell and even the entire Hell. The reason why this place was called Frost Springs Hell was because there was indeed a gigantic spring in the center of this hell that surged with an extremely cold water and was known as the Frost Springs. There were similar reasons for the names of the other 8 hells. For example, in the center of Yellow Springs Hell, there was a turbid and withered spring water known as the Yellow Springs. In the center of the Een Springs Hell, there was extreme Een water, giving it the name the Een Springs. The entire Hell world had some similarities with the medium Kiliacosm where Su Zimo ascended. For example, the Hell world also contained a large amount of heaven and earth essence chi. Perhaps because of the environment, there was an additional dark and cold power in the heaven and earth essence chi. The living beings of the Hell world called it the Nether chi. The reason why the heaven and earth essence chi in the heavenly world was rich and massive was because of the existence of the builder tree. The spring water of the 9 hells had a similar effect. It could be said that the 9 springs were the source of power for the 9 hells. What was even stranger was that according to the ancient books in the Palace of the North Ridge, not only did the 9 springs contain completely different powers, they also possessed unimaginable might. For example, the Frost Springs water here was water of extreme coldness and could cause immense damage to any living being, especially the aquatic ones. As for the Yellow Springs water, it was turbid and withered, possessing the use of washing away one's memories. It was said that after the soul was baptized in the Yellow Springs water, it would forget its memories of its previous life. The soup of oblivion? The love erasure potion? At that point, an indescribable feeling rose in the heart of the martial Tao Prime body. In the Hell world, there seemed to be actual comparisons to some of the legends and myths that he had heard in the mortal world. For example, the Boundless Springs water could cleanse curses. Any curse or filth would dissipate after being washed by the Boundless Springs water. The martial Tao Prime body had even seen records of the ancient Nether race in the ancient books. The ancient Nether race was not a race that was born, but a race that was created through transformation. There were all sorts of strange things in the Trichiliacosm. This was also the first time that the martial Tao Prime body had seen a strange method like creating life through transformation. According to the ancient books, apart from the reproduction and nurturing of the living beings of the 10,000 races, there was another unique method for the living beings of the Hell world to create life, transformation. Every once in a while, living beings would be born from the 9 springs. Those living beings had no parents. The method of creating something out of nothing was the transformation of life in the Hell world. Bloodshed and countless living beings died everywhere in the Hell world. However, due to the strange method of life evolution such as transformation, there was still an endless stream of living beings in the Hell world. Life can be born from the 9 springs of Hell. When the martial Tao Prime body first saw those records, he was extremely surprised. Although the builder tree also had the effect of gathering heaven and earth essence chi, it could not nurture any special life form. Even the martial Tao prime body had never seen such records in the upper world. This method of life creation seemed to be breaching the deepest secret dharmic Taos of the world. Even the great emperors who were so powerful could not create life. The living beings that were born from the 9 springs of hell were the ancient nether race of the hell world. There could be humans, demon beasts, and all sorts of living beings in the ancient nether race. However, after those living beings were created from the 9 springs of hell, they belonged to the ancient nether race. The mark of the ancient nether race was extremely obvious as well. Typically, there would be a strange rune on the surface or glabellas of those living beings. It was the same rune that the martial Tao prime body had seen on the glabella of Nether General North Black. The meaning of that rune was Nether. At this point, the martial Tao prime body could not help but recall the Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra nurtured by the Green Lotus True Body. Those strange runes were extremely similar to the Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra and should originate from the same civilization. Could the Yin-Yang Talisman Sutra be related to the Hell world, or were they both from the same civilization? The ancient Nether race had a supreme status in the Hell world. It was not only because the ancient Nether race was born from the 9 springs of hell. More than that, it was because after they were born, they possessed powers that were far stronger than other living beings. Be it in terms of bloodline or physique, they were incomparably strong and suppressed everyone of the same cultivation realm. The bloodline of the ancient Nether race was so strong that after growing to a certain age, a bloodline phenomenon closely related to the 9 springs of hell they came from would be born. That was not hard to imagine. The 9 springs of hell were said to be the foundation of the 9 hells, and the living beings born from their spring water were definitely extraordinary. Unfortunately for the arrogant Nether General North Black, he encountered the martial Tao prime body and was killed by a single sword chi before he could even release his bloodline phenomenon. The ancient Nether race could reproduce as well. However, their descendants would almost never inherit the bloodline power of the ancient Nether race, and they did not have the strange runes of the Nether word on their bodies. Only those from the ancient Nether race were qualified to be called Nether Generals and Nether Kings. For example, the Hell Lords of the 9 Hells were all from the ancient Nether race. Back then, the Lord of Hell was the strongest person in the ancient Nether race. According to the ancient books, under normal circumstances, the 9 Hell Lords were all Emperor Realm experts. As for the Lord of Hell, he reigned over the 9 Hells. However, an era ago, the Hell world seemed to have suffered a serious injury, causing the world to shatter. Its great Tao was damaged and its laws were incomplete. In that calamity, not only did the Lord of Hell die, the entire Hell world suffered immense losses as well, and countless emperors, Hell kings, and other experts died. What was even more serious was that the Hell world had not been repaired. As time passed, the Nether chi in the Hell world thinned, and even the 9 springs of hell showed signs of drying up. Thereafter, the Hell world fell into the Dharma ending era and fewer living beings advanced to the Emperor realm. After a long time, the emperors of the past died with the end of their lifespans. From then on, there were no longer any living beings in the 9 hells that became emperors. Up till now, although the ancient Nether race was still holding down the positions of the 9 Hell Lords, almost all of them were peak Hell Kings, and there were no Emperor Realm experts. Of course, although there were no Emperor Realm experts in the Dharma-ending era of the Hell world, they had accumulated a large number of Hell Kings and Nether Kings, and their foundations were still present. Chapter 2648, 2648 Gifts of the Ridges. 2648 Gifts of the Ridges. For the past few days, the martial Tao prime body had been digesting many pieces of information about the Hell world. Although he had a rough understanding of Hell, he still had many questions in his mind. The ancient books recorded that the Hell world was severely injured during the Infinite Era. Was it done by Great Emperor Infinite? Could the power controlled by a Great Emperor severely injure the entire Hell world such that the Great Tao was shattered and the world was incomplete? The martial Tao prime body was skeptical about that. However, if not for Great Emperor Infinite, why would such a catastrophe happen? Apart from being sinister and terrifying, there were too many unknowns in the Hell world that seemed mysterious. The ancient books in the North Ridge Palace could not give the martial Dao Prime Body an answer to those unknowns. Perhaps only the Hell King experts here knew a thing or two. The martial Dao Prime Body had flipped through the ancient books sent by Tang Qinger, but he could not find a way to leave the Hell world and return to the medium Kiliacosm. Since the Hell world coexisted with the medium Kiliacosm, the Dharmic Dao inheritance here would definitely be different from the medium Kiliacosm. The martial Dao Prime Body intended to search for high-quality Dharmic Dao inheritances in Hell and continue to divine and perfect the martial Dao while looking for a way to leave. 5 days later, the birthday banquet of King North Ridge officially began. By the time Tang Qinger arrived at the main hall with the martial Dao Prime Body, there were already many people seated. Some maidservants in veils carried various spirit fruits from Hell and came and went with their beautiful bodies vaguely visible. Although Tang Qinger was a junior, she was a princess of the North Ridge after all. Her seat was relatively closer to the front and was on the side of King North Ridge's seat. There were 5 seats on each side for the royal family of the North Ridge. Together, 10 spacious areas were created for the 10 great Hell Ridges. Why are you still here? When the young master of the South Forest saw the martial Dao Prime Body from his seat, his expression darkened as he asked with a frown. As though he had not heard anything, the martial Dao Prime Body did not even look at him. Right now, it was the birthday banquet of King North Ridge, and it was inappropriate for the young master of the South Forest to get angry and make a fuss as well. The young master of the South Forest rolled his eyes and suddenly said, "Desolate Marshal, today is the birthday banquet of King North Ridge. Everyone who attends the banquet will bring congratulatory gifts. What have you brought? Show it to everyone." Over the past few days, Tang Qinger had also learned a lot of information about the heavenly world from the martial Dao Prime Body and was extremely curious. At that moment, when she saw the martial Dao Prime Body being troubled, she could not bear it and tugged at the young master of the South Forest, saying in a low voice, "Forget it. Fellow Taoist Desolate Marshal has just arrived in the North Ridge. How would he have the time to prepare any congratulatory gifts? Let's not make things difficult for him. How can you sit here so comfortably without a congratulatory gift?" The young master of the South Forest sneered. The martial Dao Prime Body looked at the surging crowd outside the hall and suddenly said meaningfully, "I've prepared a congratulatory gift, but I hope that King North Ridge won't need it. Heavenly Dragon Ridge has arrived." Right then, a North Ridge guard at the entrance of the hall shouted, "The territorial lord of Heavenly Dragon Ridge has gifted King North Ridge a piece of 100,000-year Hell Frost Iron." The martial Dao Prime Body had once read in an ancient book in the North Ridge Palace that the Hell Frost Iron was a specialty treasure of Frost Springs Hell. This frost iron was at the depths of Hell and was soaked in the water of the Frost Springs all year round. It was a universal treasure that could only be formed after more than 100,000 years and was a supreme-grade material for forging spirit treasures. Essence-breaking Ridge has arrived. On the other side, the North Ridge Guard declared loudly, "The territorial lord of Essence-breaking Ridge has gifted King North Ridge a piece of spine from an ancient Nether Dragon King." Among the ancient Nether race, there was also a dragon that was born and cultivated to the level of a Nether King. However, he died later on, and that created the spine of the Dragon King. The spine of a Dragon King was precious enough, let alone that of an ancient Nether Dragon King. Good, good, good. King North Ridge sat in the middle of the hall majestically and looked down. When he heard the voices coming from the entrance, he nodded repeatedly with a satisfied expression. It was a relatively long process. It was said that there were 100,000 mountain ridges of corpses and bones within the territory of the North Ridge. Although not all the mountain ridges and factions were qualified to extend their congratulations to King North Ridge, this birthday banquet was still filled with noteworthy experts as well. Apart from Hell Generals and Hell Kings, there was no place for Hell Pawns at all in the hall. Before the people of the 10 Great Hell Ridges arrived, there were already more than 1,000 Hell Kings from the other Hell Ridges, and their numbers were still increasing. Even in the heavenly world, the martial Dao Prime Body had never seen such a massive lineup. The Nine Firmament meetback then was already a massive event. The Nine Firmament, Immortal Domain, and Pure Land of Bliss only sent out slightly more than 100 Immortal King experts in total. Of course, the North Ridge was different from the Heavenly World. There were at least dozens of Emperor experts in the Heavenly World. However, there were no Emperor experts in the North Ridge, or even the entire Frost Springs Hell. Ha 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 ha. The entire birthday banquet was bustling with people, and King North Ridge was delighted as well. From time to time, he would laugh loudly and drink strong wine. These Hell Ridges were merely the appetizers. The true feast would have to wait till the 10 great Hell Ridges were gathered. Right then, the guard at the entrance of the hall declared, "The South Forest has sent envoys to congratulate King North Ridge on his 800,000th birthday. Even though we're so far apart, the South Forest sent people. You don't know yet, right? I heard that the little princess of the North Ridge and the young master of the South Forest are about to get engaged and become Tao companions. The marriage will make the two factions even closer. If these two factions join forces, it seems like King North Ridge can continue to rule over the North Ridge for at least another 100,000 years." Among the envoys sent by the South Forest, the leader was Hell King South Essence, who came with many generous gifts. There were more than 100 congratulatory gifts alone. This scene caused a commotion in the hall, and everyone was shocked. The South Forest side had given enough face to King North Ridge. King North Ridge also knew that the reason why there were so many congratulatory gifts was not only to wish him a happy birthday, they were also part of the betrothal gift. King North Ridge was in a great mood and declared, "King South Forest sure is thoughtful. Why don't we get my daughter and this fine young man to make preparations today and choose a good day for them to get married?" Tang Chinger looked at the young master of the South Forest shyly. She had just felt countless envious gazes looking in her direction, and a hint of joy surged in the depths of her heart. "King North Ridge, you sure are wise. My master has the same intentions as well." Hell King South Essence cupped his fists hurriedly. "Ha ha ha ha." King North Ridge burst into laughter and pointed to the seats of the North Ridge royal family. "Come sit here." This action was equivalent to giving the young master of the South Forest recognition. The envoys of the South Forest hurried forward and arrived beside the young master. "Corpse Mountain Ridge has arrived." Right then, the guard at the entrance of the hall shouted once more. "Corpse Mountain Ridge, one of the 10 great Hell Ridges." After shouting that, the North Ridge guard paused and did not continue. Under normal circumstances, the congratulatory gifts from Corpse Mountain Ridge should be announced next. However, the group from Corpse Mountain Ridge did not bring any congratulatory gifts at all. Chapter 2649, 2649 Annihilation, 2649 Annihilation. The guard at the entrance of the hall did not dare to stop the territorial lord of Corpse Mountain Ridge when the latter arrived empty-handed. This was a territorial lord from one of the 10 great Hell Ridges after all. Now that he had brought hundreds of Hell Kings with him, his group attracted countless gazes the moment they entered the hall. Hundreds of Hell King experts meant that almost all of Corpse Mountain Ridge's Hell Kings were here. Logically speaking, even if they were here to extend congratulations to King North Ridge, there was no need for them to mobilize such a large force and cause such a huge commotion. "You brought so many people?" King North Ridge raised his brow slightly. The territorial lord of Corpse Mountain Ridge burst into laughter. "King North Ridge, I know that you love crowds, so I brought everyone over to take a look and wish you a happy birthday." "Oh?" King North Ridge asked indifferently, "Since it's a birthday celebration, what gift did you bring for me? Let me take a look." "Ha ha ha ha." Suddenly, hearty laughter sounded from outside the hall and a voice said, "King North Ridge, the 10 great Hell Ridges have prepared a huge gift for you. You'll definitely be satisfied." Accompanied by that voice, another group of experts entered the hall. The kings of Verdant Flame Ridge, another of the 10 great Hell Ridges, had arrived. Behind the territorial lord of Verdant Flame Ridge, there were also hundreds of Hell King experts. It was clear they were hostile. "I'm looking forward to it now that you guys mentioned it." A cold glint flashed through the depths of King Northridge's eyes. He had lived for 800,000 years and had seen all sorts of storms. Right now, Corpse Mountain Ridge and Verdant Flame Ridge were heading over menacingly. It was clear that they had a motive. King Northridge immediately sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness and made preparations. Tang Hao understood and retreated from the back of the main hall, prepared to gather all the forces in Northridge City to guard the main hall. King Northridge presided over the North Ridge for more than 100,000 years. With that foundation, he could mobilize 1,000 Hell King experts in Northridge City at any moment. Hell King South Essence of the South Forest frowned when he saw that. From the looks of it, chaos was about to break out in the North Ridge. If King Northridge could survive and calm down the chaos, his prestige and strength would naturally increase exponentially. However, if he failed and was replaced, Hell King South Essence looked at the young master of the South Forest beside him with an inquiring expression. The young master of the South Forest shook his head gently, indicating for them to wait and see. Before long, the remaining few Hell Ridges of the 10 Great Hell Ridges arrived one after another. Variant Fiend Ridge, Soulless Ridge, Wind Ridge, Dragonbone Ridge, Bloodmist Ridge, Heavenbane Ridge, Darkness Ridge, Frost Ridge, together with Corpse Mountain Ridge and Verdant Flame Ridge that were the first to arrive. The 10 Great Hell Ridges were all present. The atmosphere in the main hall of the North Ridge Palace gradually turned from lively and joyful to solemn with a hint of killing intent. With the 10 Great Hell Ridges gathered here, there were thousands of Hell King experts. The presence of so many Hell King experts formed an unimaginably massive aura that could even go against the high and mighty King North Ridge. All the factions of the North Ridge present could sense the change in the situation. By the looks of it, the birthday banquet of King North Ridge is probably going to turn into a funeral. Countless living beings die daily in the North Ridge, and countless territories change owners. How can King North Ridge preside over the North Ridge for 100,000 years? Back then, King North Ridge suppressed and destroyed countless experts and factions before stabilizing his position. Even if the 10 Great Hell Ridges join forces, it won't be easy for them to take down King North Ridge. Many cultivators were already discussing in secret. Father. With a worried expression, Tang Chinger turned to look at King North Ridge, who was not far away. At that moment, King North Ridge sat in the middle of the hall with a stern expression, and the killing intent he exuded intensified. Everyone from the 10 Great Hell Ridges are present. Show me your congratulatory gift now. King North Ridge stood up slowly, and a thick, malevolent blood chi spread out, as though another ancient ferocious beast had awakened within his body. After all, King North Ridge had presided over the North Ridge for 100,000 years. His hands were stained with endless blood, and he stepped on mountains of corpses and seas of blood. The might of a superior was something that even the territorial lords of the 10 Great Hell Ridges could not match. King North Ridge, you've occupied that position for far too long. The territorial lord of Verdant Flame Ridge finally spoke and said coolly. The territorial lord of Corpse Mountain Ridge continued. It's been so long that you're already 800,000 years old, and you didn't even realize that you're no longer at your peak. Ha 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 ha. King North Ridge burst into laughter with a menacing expression. Even though I'm 800,000 years old, you guys can't challenge me. Indeed, King North Ridge was confident. Although he was already 800,000 years old, he had once obtained a supreme divine medicine and was able to maintain his peak blood chi without losing much combat strength. Furthermore, he was only a step away from the perfected Grotto-heaven realm. Even if a huge battle broke out and he was eventually defeated, he was confident that he could severely injure the 10 Great Hell Ridges and make the other party pay an unbearable price. North Ridge King, the territorial lord of Variant Fiend Ridge, declared loudly, "The congratulatory gift we've prepared for you is to wish you a happy birthday with the blood of your entire family." How dare you? King North Ridge was enraged, and his killing intent burst forth. He glared at the territorial lord of Variant Fiend Ridge, ready to kill at any moment. He had already instructed Tang how to gather the Hell King experts of the North Ridge. However, Tang Hao had not returned even after this period of time. That made him feel uneasy and wary. That was the reason why he did not attack the entire time. Otherwise, given his personality, he would have started a massacre a long time ago. The experts of the other factions of the North Ridge were shocked when they heard the variant Fiend Ridge territorial lords' words as well. Initially, everyone thought that the territorial lords of the 10 Great Hell Ridges merely joined forces to force King North Ridge to abdicate and were even willing to fight. But now, from the looks of it, the territorial lords of the 10 Great Hell Ridges wanted to annihilate the lineage of King North Ridge. They are trying to annihilate his family. How ruthless. You're way too naive. Given a blood feud this deep, who knows what sort of calamities would be left behind if they're not completely wiped out. The safest method is to exterminate his entire family. The territorial lord of Soulless Ridge said, King North Ridge, your 800,000-year-old celebration today will mark the day of your Tang family's annihilation. At that moment, the 10 Great Hell Ridges no longer hid their intentions. Thousands of Hell Kings were prepared to attack at any moment and start a massacre. When the various factions of the North Ridge saw that, they retreated from the main hall one after another, afraid that they would be implicated and crushed. A great battle that involved Hell Kings would definitely be incomparably tragic. Once the battle broke out and Grotto-heavens collided and devoured one another, countless Hell Kings would be crushed and buried here, let alone Hell Generals. You want to destroy my Tang family? King North Ridge had a sharp expression as he said coldly, My Tang family is about to enter into a marriage alliance with the South Forest. If you dare to challenge my status, you'll be going against King South Forest. Oh. The gazes of the 10 territorial lords landed on the young master of the South Forest with a playful look in their eyes. Instantly, the young master of the South Forest felt a tremendous pressure. Under normal circumstances, he should stand on the side of King North Ridge since he was already engaged to Tang Chinger. However, at that moment, he had another question in his mind. Were there other factions involved in the fact that the 10 Great Hell Ridges could join forces to overturn King North Ridge? Or perhaps, was there some expert who appeared in the North Ridge and had absolute confidence of suppressing King North Ridge? Young master of the South Forest, I heard that you have a marriage alliance with the Tang family? Right then, another voice sounded from outside the hall. Chapter 2650, 2650 Edict of the Hell Lord. 2650 Edict of the Hell Lord. Someone else had arrived. When they heard that voice, the territorial lords of the 10 Great Hell Ridges relaxed significantly. Against the enraged King North Ridge, the 10 territorial lords felt immense pressure as well. Even if the 10 of them joined forces and could suppress King North Ridge, they would definitely have to pay a heavy price and half of them might even die on the spot. None of the territorial lords of the 10 Great Hell Ridge wanted to die at the front. When that voice sounded in the hall, the thousands of Hell King experts of the 10 Great Hell Ridge consciously avoided it and opened up a path. A group of cultivators entered the hall slowly. Compared to the formation of the 10 Great Hell Ridges, the auras of the new cultivators seemed much weaker. After all, there were only slightly more than 10 of them. However, all the factions of the North Ridge were shocked when they saw the cultivators. All the cultivators had a strange rune on their glabellas. The ancient Nether race. More than 10 Nether Kings arrived at the main hall of the North Ridge Palace. Although Hell Kings and Nether Kings were of the same cultivation realm, the difference in strength between them was extremely great. In terms of physique and bloodline, the ancient Nether race was far superior to ordinary living beings of Hell. When he saw the dozens of Nether Kings, King North Ridge's pupils constricted and his heart skipped a beat. A look of realization flashed through the eyes of the young master of the South Forest. He finally understood why the territorial lords of the 10 Great Hell Ridges would join forces fearlessly and even declare that they wanted to annihilate the Tang family of the North Ridge. So, the territorial lords of the 10 Great Hell Ridges were backed by the ancient Nether race. Under normal circumstances, most of the ancient Nether race cultivated in the central capital and would not be too far away from the Frost Springs. It was clear that these ancient Nether race beings were from the central capital as well. The person who presided over the central capital was Hell Lord Frost Springs. Ancient Nether race beings from the central capital were here to join forces with the territorial lords of the 10 Great Hell Ridges to annihilate the Tang family. Was this the intention of Hell Lord Frost Springs? If that was the case, he could not get involved and had to withdraw in time lest he implicated the South Forest and brought about a calamity for his father. At that thought, the young master of the South Forest stood up hurriedly and bowed to the dozens of Nether kings. Actually, I was merely interested in a marriage alliance with the North Ridge. However, this matter has yet to be decided. Since such a change happened to the North Ridge, I think we can only put aside the marriage alliance for the time being. As he said that, the young master of the South Forest gave Hell King South Essence a look. The envoys of the South Forest withdrew from their seats, one after another, and drew a clear line between them and the factions of the North Ridge. You. Tang Chinger looked at the young master of the South Forest in disbelief, shocked and furious. The young master of the South Forest merely glared at her coldly and did not say anything to her the entire time. The reason why he wanted a marriage alliance with Tang Chinger was because he was keen on the power of King North Ridge. But now that the Tang family of the North Ridge was about to be annihilated, wouldn't he be courting death if he joined them? Good. King North Ridge was so angry that he laughed instead. He looked at the young master of the South Forest and grinned. Little bastard, you sure have fast reactions. The wise recognized their circumstances. The Nether King in the lead was not old and had an indifferent expression. He smiled and said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Mingfeng and I'll become the new King North Ridge. You think that a few of you ancient Nether race beings and the 10 Great Hell Ridges alone can replace me?" King North Ridge was fearless and said slowly with a ferocious glint in his eyes, "If I fight to the death, I won't let you guys have a good time even if I die. I've managed the North Ridge for 100,000 years and have thousands of Hell King experts under my lead. It's not something you guys can shake with ease." I forgot to mention, Mingfeng took out a cloth from his storage bag. "I've also brought an imperial edict from Hell Lord Frost Springs. Anyone who resists will be enemies with him and their family clans, and anyone related by 10 degrees of association will be annihilated without mercy." The moment he said that, the experts under King North Ridge were stunned. These Hell King experts had followed King North Ridge for many years. If they were only facing the 10 Great Hell Ridges, they would not be afraid or retreat under the lead of King North Ridge. However, now that they were up against Hell Lord Frost Springs, many Hell King experts no longer had any intention of resisting. Hell Lord Frost Springs ruled over the entire Frost Springs Hell. Although the Hell world was in the Dharma ending era and the world was shattered with an incomplete Great Tao and Hell Lord Frost Springs was merely a Nether King, no one could challenge his status. Right from the beginning, the martial Tao Prime Body did not say anything and merely enjoyed the wine brewed in Hell, as though everything around him had nothing to do with him. The current situation was gradually becoming clearer. On the side of King North Ridge, after Mingfeng took out the imperial edict of Hell Lord Frost Springs, their morale was already low and no one dared to resist. Even if King North Ridge was indignant, he was merely a cornered beast and could not change anything. At that moment, King North Ridge seemed to have aged considerably in an instant as he stood on the ground filled with corpses. Forget it. King North Ridge was silent for a long time before shaking his head. "Since it's the will of Hell Lord Frost Springs, I'm willing to accept it. From now on, I'll leave the North Ridge." No. Suddenly, Mingfeng smiled. "You're mistaken about one thing. The Edict of Hell Lord Frost Springs merely gave others a choice. However, the only outcome for the Tang family of the North Ridge is extermination." Upon hearing this, Tang Chinger and the others from the royal family looked despaired. King North Ridge was enraged as well as he clenched his fists and tried his best to suppress the rage in his heart. Gritting his teeth, he said, "I'm willing to withdraw, but you guys insist on exterminating us? If my Tang family of the North Ridge were to fight you guys to the death, you guys won't have it easy either." Your Tang family of the North Ridge? Ming Feng smiled. From this day forth, the Tang family will cease to exist in the North Ridge. Oh, right. You're waiting for him, right? As Ming Feng said that, he took out a bloodied head from his storage bag and threw it in front of King North Ridge. That head belonged to Tang Hao, who died with grievances. As a Hell King expert, Tang Hao was killed silently in the North Ridge Palace. At the sight of Tang Hao's death, King North Ridge could no longer suppress the rage in his heart. He also knew that he had no way out. I'll make you pay with your life for my son. King North Ridge roared and rose from the skies. He withdrew a gigantic pitch-black saber and slashed down at Ming Feng's head. Splash! King North Ridge did not hold back at all and released his powerful blood chi. At the same time, he propped up his Grotto-heaven and wanted to kill Ming Feng on the spot. Foo-foo! Ming Feng chuckled with a mocking expression. You overestimate yourself. Behind Ming Feng, another Nether King appeared in a flash. While holding up his Grotto-heaven, he released his bloodline phenomenon. The Grotto-heaven of this Nether King was dark, deep, and sinister. There was even a phenomenon accompanying the Grotto-heaven. A gigantic frost springs gushed out like a torrent that emitted a chilling intent and devoured towards King North Ridge. It was the innate bloodline phenomenon of the ancient Nether race, Hellfrost Springs. Crack, crack. A layer of frost appeared on King North Ridge's Grotto-heaven when it was struck by Hellfrost Springs. Countless ice shards formed both inside and outside the Grotto-heaven. Chapter 2651. 2651. What can you do to me? 2651. What can you do to me? Although Hellfrost Springs was only a phenomenon right now, it still emitted a chilling intent that could freeze even the Grotto-heaven of King North Ridge. The coldness was still spreading, and a layer of frost appeared on the brows and hair of King North Ridge. Break! King North Ridge roared and his blood chi burst forth. Abandoning his Grotto-heaven, he broke through the frost layer on his body and continued charging towards Ming Feng. Humph! Ming Feng sneered with a mocking expression. Right in front of him, King North Ridge was like a helpless beast that was struggling and letting out its final sorrowful cry before its death. You overestimate yourself. Ming Feng suddenly attacked and slapped the side of the incoming black saber with lightning speed, neutralizing the power of King North Ridge's slash. At the same time, Ming Feng took advantage of the situation and broke through the defense of King North Ridge, pressing down on the latter's chest. King North Ridge did not have time to retract his saber and could only punch in reverse against Ming Feng's palm. Bang! The fist and palm collided. A chill surged into King North Ridge's body through his fist. A layer of frost spread along his arm and towards his body at a visible speed. King North Ridge shuddered and was shocked. Both parties merely exchanged a single blow, and he was already severely injured. His bloodline and even his organs were showing signs of freezing into ice. King North Ridge spat out a mouthful of blood. The mouthful of blood splattered on the ground, emitting a cold aura that had long turned into blood-colored ice shards. In the Hell world, the bloodline of the ancient Nether race was supreme among their peers. The Grotto-heaven of King North Ridge was frozen by the bloodline phenomenon of another Nether king and could not be used. He had lost his greatest reliance. Against him, Ming Feng did not even have to release his Grotto-heaven. His physique and bloodline alone were enough to suppress King North Ridge. Ming Feng did not give King North Ridge a chance to catch his breath. He took a step forward and pushed his palm against the latter's chest. Crack! The chest of King North Ridge caved in deeply. When the cold chi entered his body, King North Ridge shuddered and could not control his body. He fell to the ground and his lips turned purplish as his body trembled continuously. All the kings and big shots of the North Ridge had conflicted expressions when they saw that. To think that the mighty King North Ridge, who ruled over the North Ridge for more than 100,000 years, would end up in such a sorry state today. Father! Tang Qinger exclaimed. She wanted to charge forward recklessly, but Uncle Qian stopped her. Sigh. King North Ridge sighed internally, despondent and disheartened. The difference between them was way too great. With the Edict of the Hell Lord, almost no Hell King expert under his lead dared to stand with him. Furthermore, he could not defend against the kings of the ancient Nether race at all. Today, his fate was already decided. Since Hell Lord Frost Springs wanted him dead, there was no way Hell Lord Frost Springs would give him any chance. King North Ridge turned to look at his descendants behind him. Finally, his gaze landed on Tang Chinger, and a trace of hope flashed through his heart. Shintu Ing, to begin with, Chinger should have married into the South Forest after today. She's no longer a part of our Tang family in the North Ridge. King North Ridge looked at the young master of the South Forest and said softly, "On account of your past relationship with her, please take in Chinger." What did you say? Before King North Ridge could finish, the young master of the South Forest interrupted him hurriedly. With a disgusted expression, he waved his hand and said, "There's no past relationship between me and Tang Chinger. We're just acquaintances." "You?" King North Ridge was enraged and glared angrily. The young master of the South Forest looked at Ming Feng's side with a wary expression, afraid that he would be implicated by King North Ridge. He scolded hurriedly, "Old thing, shut up. You're truly devious. To think that you would want to drag the South Forest into the water even before you die." Tang Chinger glared at the young master of the South Forest coldly with an indifferent gaze, as though she was looking at a stranger. "Ha ha ha ha. Interesting." Ming Feng could not help but laugh and clap. "King North Ridge, take a look. Even if I'm willing to let the Tang family off, no one will dare to take you in." The young master of the South Forest swept his gaze and suddenly caught sight of the Martial Dao Prime Body, who was still sitting in his seat calmly. He said hurriedly as though he was trying to take credit, "Lord Ming Feng, I'd like to report something to you." "Oh." Ming Feng raised his brow. The young master of the South Forest pointed to the Martial Dao Prime Body not far away. "Lord, please take a look. That purple-robed cultivator with the silver mask isn't someone from Frost Springs Hell. He once said that he came from the heavenly world of the medium Kiliacosm." "The medium Kiliacosm?" Ming Feng frowned. How is that possible? However, after his spirit consciousness swept past the Martial Dao Prime Body, he quickly discovered that the latter indeed exuded the aura of a living person. Tang Chinger glared at the young master of the South Forest and said in a deep voice, "Today is a calamity for the Tang family of the North Ridge. It has nothing to do with anyone else. Fellow Taoist Desolate Marshal has not joined the North Ridge. Shintu Ing, don't implicate the innocent." Tang Chinger knew that she would not be able to escape death today. However, she was the one who invited the Martial Dao Prime Body over. If he was implicated, it would truly be an undeserved calamity. "Tisk, tisk." The young master of the South Forest pouted his lips and said in a strange manner, "You're actually so nervous and are starting to defend him? I've long noticed that you're a slut with a licentious nature." "Lord Ming Feng, as you can see, I truly don't have much of a relationship with this slut." In order to sever ties with Tang Chinger, the young master of the South Forest even resorted to filthy language. The young master of the South Forest continued, "Tang Chinger knew that he was from the heavenly world, but she still took him in. It's clear that the Tang family of North Ridge has been disloyal for a long time." Tang Chinger's intentions were clearly to attain personal growth. However, Ming Feng nodded in satisfaction. "In that case, it's not unjust for us to destroy the Tang family of the North Ridge." "How wise." The young master of the South Forest flattered and continued, "Also, this person killed a Nether general in Corpse Mountain Ridge the moment he arrived at Frost Springs Hell." When he heard that, the territorial lord of Corpse Mountain Ridge's expression changed and he asked, "He was the one who killed Nether General North Black?" "That's right." The young master of the South Forest nodded hurriedly. "I saw it with my own eyes." Furthermore, after he killed Nether General North Black, Tang Chinger even wanted to take the initiative to cover up the matter. At that time, I argued using logic that an outsider shouldn't be able to massacre living beings of our Frost Springs Hell casually. Furthermore, it was a noble being of the ancient Nether race at that. However, That slut, Tang Qinger, refused to listen and insisted on protecting that person. The young master of the South Forest tried his best to put on a performance and described everything in a fake manner, getting himself out cleanly. Suddenly, Ming Feng laughed and shifted his gaze to the martial Tao prime body, saying coldly, "An outsider who's been hiding the entire time actually dares to kill someone from the ancient Nether race? You sure are bold." The martial Tao prime body ignored Ming Feng and merely drank the wine in his hands in one gulp before putting down the wine glass and saying indifferently, "So what if I killed him? What can you do to me?" Chapter 2652, 2652 Exhalation into a Sword. 2652 Exhalation into a Sword. Huh. Ming Feng was stunned when the martial Tao prime body said that. He had lived for so long, but he had never seen someone so tactless. Given the current situation, even King North Ridge had to bow down and resign to his fate, allowing them to slaughter and exterminate his entire family. Yet, this outsider dared to provoke him? Ming Feng was stunned for a moment before laughing uncontrollably. Initially, the hall fell into a strange silence. Thereafter, an even more chaotic commotion broke out. The kings and big shots of the various factions looked at the martial Tao prime body as though they were looking at a dead man. That person is way too arrogant. He's pretending to be calm before his death. He must have peed his pants down there. He's just putting on a tough front since he knows he's going to die. That's right. As an outsider who killed someone from the ancient Nether race, how can he survive? Sigh. Tang Qinger looked at the martial Tao prime body helplessly and sighed. Initially, she wanted to not involve the martial Tao prime body. However, the words of the martial Tao prime body were akin to pitting himself against Ming Feng. No matter what she said, there was no way these experts of the ancient Nether race would let the martial Tao prime body off. Ha 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 ha. The young master of the South Forest pointed at the martial Tao prime body and burst into laughter. Lord Ming Feng, did you see how arrogant that person was? How dare this fellow rebut in front of you lords? It's fine if he doesn't kneel down and beg for mercy, but he's even sitting there drinking. He's not taking you guys seriously at all. The young master of the South Forest became inexplicably excited and shouted when he saw how tactless the martial Tao prime body was. He was not wrong about one thing. Indeed, the martial Tao prime body did not take Ming Feng and the others seriously. To be precise, the martial Tao prime body could ignore all the experts in the main hall of the North Ridge Palace. The young master of the South Forest continued, "Hey, desolate marshal? Didn't you say that you prepared a congratulatory gift for King North Ridge? Take it out for us to take a look." Haha, don't blame me for not reminding you. If you don't take it out now, you won't have the chance later on. Oh. Just as Ming Feng was about to attack, he revealed an interested expression and smiled mockingly. "What congratulatory gift did you prepare? Take it out and let me broaden my horizons as well." This birthday banquet was about to turn into an annihilation funeral for the Tang family of the North Ridge. No matter what congratulatory gift the martial Tao prime body brought out, it would be a joke in the eyes of everyone, and he would only be humiliating himself. My congratulatory gift only contains a single sentence. The martial Tao prime body said indifferently, "The Tang family of the North Ridge is under my protection." Huh. Everyone in the hall could not believe their ears as they looked at the martial Tao prime body, who was still sitting at the table in disbelief. What gibberish did this person just say? I didn't hear him clearly. I think he said that the Tang family of the North Ridge is under his protection. He must have drunk too much and is now delirious. Discussions broke out in the main hall of the North Ridge Palace. Tang Qinger looked at the martial Tao prime body in a daze, just like the first time she knew him. Although those words sounded ridiculous, for some unknown reason, Tang Qinger suddenly felt an incomparably powerful will coming from the martial Tao prime body. It was as though every single word spoken by the martial Tao prime body carried immense weight. King North Ridge sat limply on the ground. At that moment, he turned around as well, and looked at the young man he had once reprimanded with a lost expression. Could he have judged wrongly? Could this outsider of the heavenly world truly be able to save the Tang family? That thought flashed through his mind, but King Northridge quickly denied it. That was impossible. Although he could not tell the cultivation realm of the martial Tao prime body, this young man was less than 10,000 years old. Even if he was extremely talented and cultivated to the level of a Hell King, so what? Could this young man be stronger than him? If even he could not defeat the experts of the ancient Nether race, what could this young man do? This lad was probably too young and inexperienced. He must not have suffered any setbacks in the heavenly world, and that was the reason why he was arrogant and conceited. However, King Northridge could no longer be bothered to reprimand the martial Tao prime body. In his opinion, the martial Tao prime body would most likely die even before him, given his repeated provocations towards the ancient Nether race. Suddenly, King Northridge laughed self-deprecatingly. For a moment, he actually fantasized about relying on this young man who was less than 10,000 years old to protect the Tang family. It was truly ridiculous. Lord Mingfeng, did you guys hear that? It was only then that the young master of the South Forest reacted and said hurriedly, this person declared that he wanted to protect the Tang family of the North Ridge. He's openly going against all of you. Mingfeng waved it off casually. He's just an ant. Kill him. The Nether King, who had just exchanged blows with King Northridge, arrived before the martial Tao prime body in a flash and slapped the top of the latter's head. That palm strike sealed almost all escape routes for the martial Tao prime body. Not only did the Nether King want to kill the martial Tao prime body, he wanted to do it instantly. That way, the might and methods of the ancient Nether race could be displayed. The martial Tao prime body did not stand up when he saw the towering palm of the Nether King expert descend. He merely lowered his head and remained seated motionlessly. Ha! The young master of the South Forest could not help but laugh. Are you scared out of your wits? At the side, Hell King South Essence analyzed calmly. Although the methods of this Nether King seem simple, it's because he simplified everything. His aura is ferocious and invincible. Coupled with the blood chi of the ancient Nether race, he has already suppressed this person completely. It's not that he doesn't want to move. It's that he can't and can only watch helplessly as he's slapped to death. Tang Qinger could not help but turn her head to avoid her gaze. She could no longer bear to continue watching. Back in Weeping Soul Ridge, she brought the martial Tao prime body back to the North Ridge out of curiosity and goodwill. To think that she would harm this person instead. In a flash, the Nether King expert's palm descended and was less than a foot away from the head of the martial Tao prime body. Right then, the martial Tao prime body suddenly raised his eyes. Two shuddering lights burst forth from his eyes as he exhaled. Scram! In that voice, the martial Tao prime body did not use the secret skill of myriad being sound. Even so, with his powerful physique and bloodline, he still released an extremely violent impact. The Nether King shuddered and felt a sharp pain in his ears. His mind buzzed, and his consciousness went blank for a moment. At the same time, Qi gathered in the mouth of the martial Tao prime body and formed a sword. A white light tore through the air and entered the glabella of the Nether King instantly. Initially, this was the most common method of immortality cultivation, exhaling air to form a sword. As long as the other party was prepared, such methods posed no threat to cultivators of the same cultivation realm. However, the might of the sword chi spat out by the powerful lungs of the martial Tao prime body was unparalleled and could even penetrate the Nether King's body. Coupled with the powerful sound domain impact, the Nether King was momentarily dazed and could not dodge at all. Before he could regain consciousness, his essence spirit was pierced by the sword chi spat out by the martial Tao prime body, and he died on the spot. Chapter 2653, 2653 Killing Nether Kings like slaying dogs. 2653 Killing Nether Kings like slaying dogs. Thud. The figure of the Nether King smashed heavily onto the ground and rolled down the steps. His eyes were widened, and he had a lost expression, unable to rest in peace. Even till his death, the Nether King did not know how he was killed. The clamor in the surroundings vanished instantly. Everyone was dumbfounded as they looked at everything in disbelief. Suddenly, the main hall of the North Ridge Palace turned so silent that a pin drop could be heard. Initially, Tang Qinger avoided her gaze and could not bear to watch. However, when she heard the roar of the martial Tao prime body followed by the fall of someone, the hall went silent. Everything was over. Sighing internally, Tang Qinger turned around and her mouth was agape. Everything before her was completely different from what she had imagined. The martial Tao prime body was still sitting far away without moving. In fact, he did not even get up and was safe and sound. Instead, the Nether King expert who had just attacked laid on his back below. His glabella was pierced and fresh blood flowed. He was no longer alive. Well? Tang Qinger was dumbfounded, unable to understand what was going on. Uncle Chen, what just happened? Tang Qinger could not help but ask. Uncle Chen glared at the back of the martial Tao prime body with a shocked expression as though he had seen a ghost. After hesitating for a moment, he murmured, "He." That Nether King seemed to have died from a single breath of air from him. Tang Qinger was dumbfounded. The Nether King expert was killed by a single breath of air from Desolate Martial. Even Uncle Chen found it unbelievable when he said it himself. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed it. King North Ridge looked at the Nether King expert who fell not far away from him and gulped. The way he looked at the martial Tao prime body gradually changed. At that moment, he realized how terrifying the young man he had reprimanded a few days ago was. Of course, King North Ridge did not think that Desolate Martial had the ability to fight against Mingfeng and the others. After all, Desolate Martial was alone while there were more than 10 Nether King experts on Mingfeng's side. Mingfeng had even integrated the 10 Great Hell Ridges. There were thousands of Hell King experts in the 10 Great Hell Ridges alone. How could a single person fight against such a tremendous power? Strictly speaking, the Nether King died aggrievedly. As a Nether King expert, he was killed mercilessly by Desolate Martial before he could even release his strongest methods such as the Grotto-heaven and the Hell Frost Springs bloodline phenomenon. Once Mingfeng and the others were on guard, they would not give the young man any chance. At that thought, King North Ridge suddenly said, "Desolate Martial, leave this place quickly with Qinger and some of the Tang family's bloodline. Don't worry about me." It was impossible for him to protect everyone from the Tang family. It was already extremely fortunate as long as the Tang family's bloodline could be preserved. "You want to leave after killing a Nether King of our ancient Nether race?" Mingfeng's expression was dark as he said coldly, "Let me tell you, the void around the main hall has long been sealed by us. No one from the Tang family of the North Ridge will be able to leave alive today." The moment he said that, more than 10 Nether Kings stood out at the same time and stood in midair, surrounding the martial Tao prime body. They were just waiting for Mingfeng to give the order to kill. The martial Tao prime body stood up slowly. Mingfeng could not see the expression of the martial Tao prime body. However, through the deep and calm eyes of the latter, he suddenly realized that this person might not have any intention of leaving. Suddenly, Mingfeng felt uneasy. However, he took a deep breath and composed himself rapidly, saying coldly, "Everyone, there's no need to hold back. Kill him." Boom! The moment he said that, the martial Tao prime body stomped on the ground and leaped into the air at an extremely fast speed. Instantly, he arrived before a Nether King and punched. There were no fancy moves or feints. It was just a direct punch. Although it seemed simple, it contained the will and technique of the martial Tao. It was unparalleled. In the heavenly world, Desolate Martial's fist had once caused immense psychological trauma to the immortal king experts of the 9 Firmament, Immortal Domain, and Pure Land of Bliss. That power could be said to be apocalyptic and unstoppable, clearing all gods and fiends in its way. Divine weapons, dermic treasures, and minor and major grotto heavens would all be shattered. And now, the living beings in hell would also be able to sense the fist of the martial Tao prime body, the will of the martial Tao, and the ferocious and invincible burst power. The Nether King expert had a shocked expression. He was about to suffocate after being punched by the martial Tao prime body, and the ancient Nether bloodline in his body became sluggish and difficult to activate. Bang! Under countless gazes, a Nether King expert was punched into a blood mist by the martial Tao prime body, and his essence spirit was destroyed. It was way too tragic. At the very least, the previous Nether King died with a full corpse. This Nether King was ruptured by a single punch from the martial Tao prime body without a corpse left. The martial Tao prime body did not stop and shifted once more. Arriving before another Nether King, he threw another punch without another word. Suppressing the shock in his heart, the Nether King expert had already snapped out of his stupor from the scene earlier on. He hurriedly raised his arms and circulated his blood chi in a defensive posture. Bang! The Nether King expert vanished. There was only a blood mist left where he was. Another Nether King expert was ruptured, and his essence spirit was destroyed. Swoosh! In a flash, the martial Tao prime body arrived before the third Nether King. The Nether King had a grim expression and had already summoned his Grotto-heaven spirit treasure in advance. It was a gigantic black shield that was filled with spikes that shone coldly. The person's reaction was extremely fast. The moment he saw the martial Tao prime body descend, he used the black shield in front of him and curled up, hiding behind it. The martial Tao prime body did not dodge. As though he could not see the Grotto-heaven spirit treasure of the Nether King, he continued punching towards the black shield. Boom! Accompanied by a loud bang, the black shield was pierced by a punch from the martial Tao prime body. After the punch of the martial Tao prime body penetrated the black shield, the remaining strength that was not exhausted shattered the Nether King expert who was hiding at the back, killing him on the spot. In the blink of an eye, the martial Tao prime body killed 3 Nether Kings with 3 punches. It was direct and violent. Those were clean kills. Decisive to kill. The kings and big shots in the main hall were shocked. The ancient Nether race was known for their strong blood chi and physique. Their melee combat strength was almost invincible among their peers. To think that the 3 Nether King experts would be as weak as ants and shrimps in the face of the purple-robed man. Even the Grotto-heaven spirit treasure was penetrated by a single punch from the purple-robed man like paper. The 3 Nether Kings were only equivalent to ordinary minor Grotto-heaven immortal kings in the heavenly world. Given the perfected true martial Tao body of the martial Tao prime body, he could penetrate their minor Grotto-heaven without even using his blood chi, let alone a Grotto-heaven spirit treasure. The impact on everyone present was way too great. The martial Tao prime body was like a peerless god of death, punching the Nether Kings one after another in an invincible manner. The lives of the initially noble and powerful Nether Kings were worthless at the moment. He killed the Nether Kings like he was slaying dogs. Chapter 2654, 2654 Incinerating the Frost Springs. 2654 Incinerating the Frost Springs. Initially, Ming Feng had no intention of attacking personally. However, the moment the battle broke out, 3 Nether Kings died and that enraged him. Kill! Ming Feng leaped up and roared, "Bloodline phenomenon." Splash! Ming Feng's bloodline circulated and was pushed to its limits instantly. A gigantic spring appeared behind him and a chilling spring water phenomenon spewed out. The remaining few Nether Kings did not dare to be careless and released the bloodline phenomenon of Hell Frost Springs as well, charging towards the martial Tao prime body. The reason why the bloodline of the ancient Nether race was powerful was because they were born from the Frost Springs, and their bloodline carried the power of the Frost Springs. Although the bloodline phenomenon did not condense the true Hell Frost Springs, the phenomenon alone was sufficiently powerful. Even King Northridge's Grotto-heaven earlier on was frozen. But now, with Ming Feng as the leader, the 11 Nether King experts released the bloodline phenomenon of Hell Frost Springs at the same time, and the temperature of the entire hall plummeted while a mighty power burst forth. A look of despair flashed through King Northridge's eyes. There was no way they could defend against that power. 11 frost spring phenomenons descended at the same time. If he was caught in the same position, he would freeze to death instantly even with his major Grotto-heaven. Humph! The martial Tao prime body sneered and stood in midair without dodging. Suddenly, 2 purple flames burned in his deep eyes. Bang! Boom! Similarly, the martial Tao prime body released his blood chi, and the sound of raging tides slapping the shore sounded from his body. The blood chi was so strong that as long as everyone around closed their eyes, they would feel as though the entire main hall of the North Ridge Palace was submerged in a vast sea. The blood chi of the martial Tao prime body emitted a scorching heat. The surrounding void was almost distorted from the heat, and the nether chi was already burned to ashes. 11 hell frost springs surged over and bumped into the high-temperature airwaves emitted from the body of the martial Tao prime body. Hot and cold, the 2 extremity powers collided with a strange sound. Shing, 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 shing. The 11 hell frost springs could not charge over and were blocked by the powerful blood chi of the martial Tao prime body, emitting white smoke. The cultivators were shocked. The blood chi of this outsider was so strong that he could fight against the bloodline of the ancient Nether race. Furthermore, he could defend against 11 hell frost springs single-handedly. In the memories of the cultivators, this was simply heaven-defying and impossible. The only ones who could defend against the bloodline of the ancient Nether race were the ancient Nether race. But now, the appearance of the martial Tao prime body broke the understanding of the living beings of hell. Gulp, gulp. The 2 parties were in a stalemate. In less than 2 to 3 breaths, the 11 hell frost springs began to bubble and show signs of boiling. Hell frost springs was known as the coldest water in the world. But now, they were boiling because of the blood chi of someone else. Who would believe this if they had not seen it with their own eyes? Everyone, attack with all your might and kill this lad. Ming Feng hollered and summoned the bloodline phenomenon of his major Grotto-heaven as he continued channeling hell frost springs. The void behind him suddenly collapsed and a dark and deep Grotto-heaven appeared, emitting a sinister and terrifying aura. 11 Grotto-heavens crushed down at the same time as the 11 frost spring phenomenons. I'd be a little interested if it was the real hell frost springs. The martial Tao prime body shook his head gently. However, these are mere phenomenons that are way too weak. The moment he said that, the martial Tao prime body channeled his blood chi to its limits and seemed to have vanished from the spot, replaced by a gigantic furnace. There were a few different flames burning in the furnace. Martial spirit fire, dragon phoenix flame, tribulation fire, red lotus karmic fire, and hellfire. The 5 types of flames burned day and night and had long burned the furnace scarlet. The bloodline phenomenon of the martial Tao prime body, the heaven and earth furnace. Xing. The hell frost springs of Ming Feng and the others could not even break through the blood chi of the martial Tao prime body and could not defend against the impact of the heaven and earth furnace. In the blink of an eye, the 11 hell frost springs evaporated into nothingness. As the physique and bloodline of the martial Tao prime body grew, the power of the heaven and earth furnace increased as well. Some Nether King experts who did not manage to release their Grotto-heavens in time were completely exposed to the heaven and earth furnace after the frost spring phenomenons evaporated. The few Nether Kings were also refined into ashes by the heaven and earth furnace in a few breaths, and their essence spirits were destroyed. Even though Ming Feng released his Grotto-heaven, due to his cultivation limit, it was only a single major Grotto-heaven, and it could not defend against the impact of the heaven and earth furnace. All the other minor Grotto-heavens burned with raging flames. The minor Grotto-heavens that were initially dark and sinister were filled with flames that surged into the skies. They were burned red from the inside out and were filled with cracks, ready to collapse at any moment. After the martial Tao prime body released his bloodline phenomenon, the heaven and earth furnace, the attacks of the 11 Nether King experts crumbled instantly and they suffered heavy casualties. Only Ming Feng could barely protect himself with his major Grotto-heaven that was near perfected. The other Nether King experts were either dead or injured. He was the only one left and could die on the spot at any moment. Right now, the Martial Tao Prime Body had only released his bloodline phenomenon and had not truly counterattacked. Pissed. The cultivators were shocked. King Northridge's eyes widened in disbelief. More than half of the 11 Nether King experts of the ancient Nether race were killed by a single bloodline phenomenon of Desolate Martial. The terror of Desolate Martial had even exceeded King Northridge's imagination. On the other side, the young master of the South Forest's face was pale, and he gulped with a wary expression. He had not expected the outsider he and Tang Qinger encountered on their way back to be so powerful. In his eyes, these Nether King experts were supreme and unstoppable. However, their lives were worthless in the hands of Desolate Martial. Why are you guys still just standing and watching? As Ming Feng held on, he turned around and roared at the territorial lords of the 10 Great Hell Ridges. Everyone, attack! If this person doesn't die today and the Hell Lord blames us, all of you will have to die as well. The 10 territorial lords felt chills run down their spines when they heard that. Earlier on, it was not that they wanted to stand by idly. It was because they were intimidated by the terrifying methods of the Martial Tao Prime Body and were wary. That was why they did not attack immediately. But now that Ming Feng said that, there was no way out for everyone. Go. The territorial lord of Corpse Mountain Ridge said coldly, there are thousands of Hell King experts in the hall, and that means thousands of Grotto-heavens. I don't believe that we won't be able to kill this person if we all join forces. That's right. The territorial lord of Verdant Flame Ridge said in a deep voice as well, each of us will summon a Grotto-heaven spirit treasure. Even if we use brute force, we can smash this red furnace into pieces. The 10 territorial lords exchanged glances and made a decision at the same time, standing on Ming Feng's side to suppress the Martial Tao Prime Body. Ming Feng was backed by Hell Lord Frost Springs, who controlled the entire Frost Springs Hell. However, Desolate Martial was merely an outsider who was alone. Even a 3-year-old child could make the right choice to join a side without thinking. Chapter 2655, 2655 Essence, Martial Grotto-heaven. 2655 Essence, Martial Grotto-heaven. Under the orders of the territorial lords of the 10 Great Hell Ridges, thousands of Hell Kings soared into the air and released their Grotto-heavens. The gigantic and majestic main hall of the North Ridge Palace could not withstand the impact and collapsed instantly. Thousands of Grotto-heavens of various sizes were released. What kind of scene was that? It was simply destructive. The entire North Ridge city shook and quaked as mountains collapsed and the ground cracked. The Hell Generals and Hell Pawns in the city did not know what had happened at all. Everyone only saw the Hell King experts rising in midair and the thousands of dark and sinister Grotto-heavens. Their faces turned pale from fear and they retreated one after another, afraid that they would be involved. Tang Qinger looked up at the figure who was surrounded by thousands of Hell Kings with a nervous expression. How could he defend against thousands of Hell King experts and thousands of Grotto-heavens of various sizes? Hell Lord Frost Springs was probably the only one who could deal with such a huge formation. Although she knew that it was impossible, Tang Qinger was still looking forward to a miracle. The Martial Tao Prime Body stood in midair and sensed the thousands of Grotto-heavens of different sizes and Dharmic Daos around him. His eyes darkened and the flames burning in them burned brighter. In order to divine and perfect the Martial Tao, the Prime Body searched everywhere for cultivation techniques and secret skills. Now that he was in the Hell World and could not leave for the time being, he might as well study the Dharmic Tao inheritance of the Hell World. There was nothing faster and more direct than refining the Grotto-heavens of Hell King Sto, come into contact with the profound Dharmic Daos of the Hell World. Essence, Martial Grotto-heaven. The figure of the Martial Tao Prime Lord became indistinct and a gigantic and strange Grotto-heaven appeared around him. The Martial Tao Prime Body referred to this dark Grotto-heaven as the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven in reference to the beginning and origin of the Martial Tao. The Essence Martial Grotto-heaven was not the true Martial Tao Grotto-heaven. The derivation of the essence martial Grotto-heaven could not be replicated and was a variable of the world. The Tao body was the Tao fruit and was formed after shattering the true martial Tao body. The Dharmic formulation for the next realm of the martial Tao had yet to be established. The martial Tao Grotto-heaven should correspond to that Dharmic formulation. Due to the uniqueness of the essence martial Grotto-heaven, it was beyond the three realms, so it could not grow even if it absorbed and plundered heaven and earth essence chi. The best way for the essence martial Grotto-heaven to grow was to devour other Grotto-heavens and refine all sorts of Dharmic Tao inheritances. In the eyes of the martial Tao prime body, the thousands of Grotto-heavens of various sizes and Dharmic Taos were not Grotto-heavens at all. Instead, it was like a gigantic buffet banquet for the essence martial Grotto-heaven. Actually, the moment the martial Tao prime body released the essence martial Grotto-heaven, the intense sense of danger that suddenly appeared at the 9 firmament meet appeared in his mind once more. However, the martial Tao prime body was surrounded and had no time to care about anything else. Ming Feng and the other experts had grim expressions when they saw the martial Tao prime body release his Grotto-heaven. If the martial Tao prime lord released a perfected Grotto-heaven, the thousands of Hell Kings might not be able to gain any advantage even if they joined forces. However, when they saw that the martial Tao prime body had only released a minor Grotto-heaven, they heaved a sigh of relief. I was wondering who he was. So, he's just an ordinary Hell King who condensed a minor Grotto-heaven. We're overreacting a little. Any one of the 10 territorial lords can suppress that minor Grotto-heaven of his. In my opinion, we shouldn't be careless. This person has a powerful physique and bloodline. He even killed a few Nether King experts just now. Listening to the discussions around him, Ming Feng said coldly, "Kill him first and don't let anything else happen." Kill. The territorial lords of the 10 great hell ridges exchanged glances and raised their arms. Under the lead of Ming Feng and the 10 territorial lords, thousands of Grotto-heavens of various sizes emitted a terrifying aura and suppressed towards the martial Tao prime body. Devour. The figure of the martial Tao prime body had already vanished completely, leaving only a dark and deep Grotto-heaven in midair. The essence martial Grotto-heaven began to spin continuously, forming a gigantic vortex that tore and devoured the various Grotto-heavens that were charging over. The major Grotto-heavens of Ming Feng and the 10 territorial lords were the first to come into contact with the essence martial Grotto-heaven. Initially, they planned to join forces to suppress the essence martial Grotto-heaven into nothingness in one go. Unexpectedly, the moment their Grotto-heavens came into contact with the essence martial Grotto-heaven, they began to shake and the power of their Grotto-heavens drained rapidly. They could barely even maintain their forms as Grotto-heavens and were gradually dispersing. What? This person is actually devouring the major Grotto-heavens. Ming Feng and the 10 territorial lords shuddered. In the hell world, if one wanted to devour and refine the power of Grotto-heavens, they could only search for some shattered fragments of Grotto-heavens and slowly digest them after a long period of cultivation. Who would do it the same way as the martial Tao prime body as though he was wolfing down a meal? Swallow, swallow. Ming Feng and the others did not retreat or dodge at all. Instead, they revealed ferocious expressions. Since your appetite is so great, I'll let you eat your fill. It was extremely ridiculous for a minor Grotto-heaven to devour their major Grotto-heavens to begin with. It was like an anaconda with its mouth wide open devouring a divine dragon. Wasn't that nothing but a death wish of the anaconda? Apart from their major Grotto-heavens, there were also thousands of Grotto-heavens of various sizes behind them. The conflict between so many Grotto-heavens and Dharmic Tao inheritances was intense. Even major Grotto-heavens and perfected Grotto-heavens could not withstand it, let alone minor Grotto-heavens. Perhaps only a pocket universe created by an Emperor Realm expert could accommodate all of them. In reality, it was as Ming Feng and the others had expected. At the 9 firmament meet, the essence martial Grotto-heaven managed to devour the Grotto-heavens of the 19 supreme immortal kings without feeling any strain. But now that there were thousands of grotto-heavens of various sizes, it was getting a little much for the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven to handle. It was impossible for the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven to refine the Dharmic Tao inheritances of these grotto-heavens instantly. It could only temporarily accommodate the Dharmic Taos of these grotto-heavens and would need a long time to divine, absorb, and refine them. However, there was no time for the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven to do that at all. The vortex of the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven grew larger and larger. However, the spinning speed became slower and slower. If this continued, the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven would definitely explode. Given the current methods of the Martial Tao Prime Body, it was not difficult for him to charge out against the encirclement of thousands of Hell Kings. No one could block his path. However, that would make it difficult for him to protect the Tang family of the North Ridge. Right then, the Martial Tao Prime Body noticed a strange fluctuation coming from the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven. Back in Greater Avicii, when he followed the guidance of the Soul Lantern, he saw an ancient mirror called the Netherworld Treasure Mirror. The ancient mirror looked extraordinary. However, the Martial Tao Prime Body could not see anything special about it. Strangely, the Netherworld Treasure Mirror could not be placed in his storage bag. Therefore, the Martial Tao Prime Body placed it in his shirt for the time being. Now that he had transformed into a Grotto-heaven, the Netherworld Treasure Mirror naturally entered his Essence Martial Grotto-heaven and floated inside. The abnormal fluctuation came from the Netherworld Treasure Mirror. Chapter 2656, 2656 Crazy Plunder. 2656 Crazy Plunder. As though it sensed the auras of the thousands of grotto-heavens outside, there seemed to be a mysterious power flowing on the surface of the Netherworld Treasure Mirror, gradually forming a gray vortex. Immediately after, a powerful devouring power burst forth from the Netherworld Treasure Mirror. The Grotto-heaven powers that the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven could not digest immediately were devoured by the Netherworld Treasure Mirror, and the pressure on the Martial Tao Prime Body decreased. That change happened in the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven. The spirit consciousnesses of Ming Feng and the other Nether King and Hell King experts could not enter the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven that was deep and dark, so they naturally did not know what happened. Initially, the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven of the Martial Tao Prime Body had already gradually stopped spinning. At that moment, the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven circulated once more, and the devouring power that erupted was even more ferocious and powerful than before. The range of the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven suddenly expanded. The expressions of Ming Feng and the 10 territorial lords changed starkly. They reacted extremely quickly and retreated in a hurry. However, the group of Hell King experts behind them could not dodge in time and were devoured by the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven. They disappeared before they could even scream. Because of the eruption of the Netherworld Treasure Mirror, the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven did not just devour the surrounding grotto-heavens. It even devoured more than 100 Hell King experts. That scene caused panic in the eyes of the Hell King experts. Not only did the dark grotto-heaven that they surrounded not shatter, it even devoured more than 100 Hell King experts along with their grotto-heavens. Who wouldn't be afraid of such a strange and terrifying scene? The Martial Tao Prime Body was also observing the commotion here. His Essence Martial Grotto-heaven had yet to reach that level. The one who released such might was not the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven, but the Netherworld Treasure Mirror in the depths of it. The Essence Martial Grotto-heaven could clearly sense that the Netherworld Treasure Mirror had a strong desire to devour the grotto-heavens and even the flesh of the Hell King experts outside. The Netherworld Treasure Mirror devoured the power of the grotto-heavens in large mouthfuls like an extremely hungry, ferocious beast. This feeling was a little similar to the Hell Suppression Tripod back then. In order to repair itself, it devoured and refined many divine weapons and dharmic treasures. The Hell King experts did not die after entering the Essence Martial Grotto-heaven. They released their grotto-heavens and endured with all their might. Their essence spirits, flesh and blood existed in their grotto-heavens not only contained their dharmic das, but also their powerful wills. Although the essence martial Grotto-heaven had devoured them, it was impossible to refine more than 100 Hell Kings in a short period of time. As long as we hold on and join forces with the Hell King experts outside, we'll definitely be able to destroy his Grotto-heaven. That's right. The Hell King experts communicated and tried their best to persevere in the essence martial Grotto-heaven. Right then, an ancient mirror gradually appeared in the depths of the essence martial Grotto-heaven. There was a faint blood glow on the gray mirror. In the depths of the essence martial Grotto-heaven, it was like a single eye that shone with a sanguine light. It was sinister and abnormally terrifying. The 100-odd Hell King experts did not dare to move at all after being targeted by that single eye and felt their blood run cold. An indescribable fear surged into their hearts. That fear seemed to come from the depths of their souls and bloodlines. It was as though they should have been afraid of this single eye since they were born. Initially, under their persistence, they could still maintain their Grotto-heavens by channeling their essence spirits continuously. However, when targeted by that single eye, the 100-odd Grotto-heavens began to sway and show signs of collapse. Suddenly, the ancient mirror transformed into a gray light and streaked around them. Boom, boom, boom. More than 100 Grotto-heavens collapsed. The bodies of the Hell King experts were sliced into two by the gray light as well, and fresh blood flowed, forming a blood fog that dyed a large area of the essence martial Grotto-heaven red. As for the Netherworld treasure mirror, it seemed to be extremely excited by that scene and charged into the blood fog. The Netherworld treasure mirror was like an ancient behemoth that devoured the surrounding Grotto-heavens in large mouthfuls. In fact, it even devoured the flesh of more than 100 Hell Kings. In just a few breaths, there was no longer any blood in the essence martial Grotto-heaven. Just like that, more than 100 Hell King experts were devoured by the Netherworld treasure mirror without a corpse left. There were only 100-odd storage bags left floating in the Grotto-heaven. The martial Dao Prime body was secretly alarmed. This Netherworld treasure mirror was way too evil and ferocious. It had been dormant in Greater Avicii for countless years and had awakened after devouring the Grotto-heavens of the various Hell Kings. Now, it was recovering as well. The power it wanted to absorb in order to recover did not only come from major and minor Grotto-heavens, but also the flesh and blood of Hell Kings. The martial Dao Prime body could clearly sense a powerful and terrifying power gradually awakening in the Netherworld treasure mirror. Of course, even though it had just absorbed the power of many Grotto-heavens and devoured the flesh of more than 100 Hell King experts, it was far from enough. On the battlefield, Ming Feng and the others naturally did not know what happened in the essence martial Grotto-heaven in the few breaths earlier on. However, they could all sense that the dark Grotto-heaven in the center of the battlefield had become even more terrifying, as though a frightening existence was awakening in the depths of the Grotto-heaven. The devouring range of the essence martial Grotto-heaven spread continuously, and the devouring power became stronger. This was the process of a trade-off. Thousands of Hell King experts summoned Grotto-heavens of various sizes, wanting to suppress the martial Dao Prime body. But now, not only was the martial Dao Prime body not dead, the essence martial Grotto-heaven obtained the help of the Netherworld treasure mirror and devoured more and more, becoming stronger. Initially, both parties could still maintain a stalemate. However, as time passed, the power in the Netherworld treasure mirror became stronger and stronger. The essence martial Grotto-heaven grew gradually as well, and the Grotto-heaven power of the thousands of Hell King experts drained rapidly. Some ordinary Hell Kings with minor Grotto-heavens could no longer hold on. The Grotto-heavens shattered, and even the Grotto-heaven fragments were devoured by the essence martial Grotto-heaven. Hundreds of thousands of years of cultivation were destroyed in a single day. Without the Grotto-heavens, the Hell King experts would lose their greatest reliance and would only have their flesh and essence spirits left. This was no longer devouring. It was plundering wildly. Right in front of countless living beings of hell, figures fell from midair one after another. Many living beings of hell were shocked. These falling figures were all Hell King experts who dominated a region and were almost at the peak of the combat strength of the Hell world. But now, as though they were severely injured, the Grotto-heavens behind them shattered and their essence cheese were greatly damaged. They fell into the ruins below with weak auras. Ming Feng's face was pale, and fear finally appeared in his eyes. What kind of monster was this cultivator from the heavenly world? Even with thousands of Hell King experts joining forces, they could not suppress him. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.